Hey everybody, welcome back to the Gamers Lounge podcast. My name is John Meadows. With me as always is Nathaniel, Eric, and Dennis. What's going on, guys?
Hello, hello.
How's it going?
It is going.
Going well.
It
is going.
It is going, yeah. That's about all I can say at this point. It is going.
It is proceeding, moving forward.
Yeah.
Maybe not even forward. Could even be going in circles, but it's going somewhere.
It's going
somewhere.
It's not going backward, at least it doesn't. I don't think so. I hope not. It doesn't appear to be going backwards. I'll say that. But that doesn't necessarily mean anything at this point.
Wait until we hit the twist at the end. Oh, we were going backwards the whole time.
We were going backwards the whole time. The call was coming from in the house. Oh,
or like cell phones. Like, sure. It's not weird anymore, guys.
No,
we went past that era.
We all turned into Bruce Willis, and it gets crazy.
He was dead all along. Spoilers.
I mean, there's worse people to be than Bruce Willis, so maybe I'll be okay with that.
Sure.
Yeah, that's true. So, but anyway, we'll talk about games. That's what we're here to talk about is games, video games. We'll leave some of the bad news and some of the other news for later, but right now we're just going to talk about games. So, I'll start off because I haven't played much, but I will talk about my short Sea of Thieves session yesterday. That I was bored. I played a little bit of Death's Door. I got done with that. It was kind of late, so I didn't play a whole lot of it. So I thought, well, let me just log on to Sea of Thieves for a few minutes and just kind of hang out. So I just kind of hung out for a little while, and I pulled into port, and two guys. For the first time in months, two guys tried to gank me. It was hilarious. So, they jumped on the boat, shot me before I realized they were even there. I'm like, oh, okay. So I came back, and one of them stood at the top of the deck by the steps. The other one stood on the bottom, so it boxed me in when I came back. So we were in the hull, and the other one came down, and they were just kind of standing there. And I could hear them talking over the thing, because it's got what they call it, procedure.
Proximity chat.
Proximity chat, yeah. But I didn't have my mic on, so they thought they were being all cute and everything like that. And they were adults. I could tell they were adults. They were kids. It was just hilarious. They were like, "Up, nope, nope, you can't go here. Up, nope, nope, you can't go here." So I went, "Oh, no problem." I just started dancing and then went, "Let's see." I realized while I was dead, they let my ship sail out away from the port. So when I came back, I'm like, oh, well, we're not near the port anymore. It just kind of floated out. I'm like, oh, no problem. Oh, I can't get out. Oh, that's okay. Let's see. Scuttle, ship. You're all down here with me. Boom. And all of a sudden you hear them going, oh, wait. No, you don't have to. And then we all died. And then when you scuttle the ship, you just come back someplace different, way far away from them. So it's like, yeah. So you all thought you were being cute, but I wasn't doing anything anyway. So it's not going to hurt my feelings to sink my ship with you all stuck in the bow. It's fine. It's no big deal. And then you all come back and you got to swim to your ship because you decided to push the boat out way far and thought you were going to be cute. So there was my Sea of Thieves for the for the day. I mean, I was only on like 10 minutes. It was like, it's no big deal. It didn't bother me at all. It was just
10 minutes. You had some fun.
Yeah. They thought they were going to be cute, and it was like, yeah, you're not as cute as you think you are. It was hilarious though. Was watching them go, oh, we can't get out. Oh no, oh wait, oh you don't have to. Oh, the whole time I'm just dancing right in front of them, and they're trapped in the bow. It's like...
That's so crazy.
It was a good time. Believe it or not, it was a good time.
It's almost like they forgot, because that is a thing, like scuttling the ship. I've had to do it my fair share of times too, like being in those situations, right, where it's just like somebody takes your boat. It's just like you can enjoy it while it lasts. I was done. I already turned in my quest, so
big deal.
Yeah, you just be stranded in the middle of the ocean and get eaten by sharks.
Yeah, so. We were out far enough, like. Good luck getting back.
Meanwhile, John pulls the Guardians of the Galaxy on him, does a dance off. Bye.
Yep. Well, it was just hilarious because by the time they got down there, I just circled around them. Then they couldn't get out because then I'm cutting off the bottom. So it's like I didn't even have to pull out a gun. It was like suckers.
Exactly.
So we call efficiency.
Yeah. This afternoon, though, I did play some of the New World beta. That is the Amazon MMO game that comes out at the end of the month.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
I actually...
Amazon keeps wanting to make video games and latest attempt.
Yeah. This one actually is not too bad. Surprisingly.
I've heard really good things, actually.
What's that?
Yeah.
I've heard really good things, actually, I mean, so far, so...
Yeah, it's weird. It's not coming out like on Xbox or PlayStation 5, but it feels like that it should, because the UI is kind of big, so it's almost like it's made to be on a TV. You know, something bigger than a 25 or 30-inch monitor. But you know, it uses the WAD. To walk around, WSAD, and then your mouse is your action buttons. So I think it's left click is attack and right click is shield, or vice versa. I can't remember, one or the other. So you're looking around with your mouse and attacking and stuff. 60 frames, smooth as silk. Graphics are, I mean, they're fine. I mean, it's an MMO. I don't expect, you know, Last of Us 2 graphics, but you know, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's more than playable, and you know, there was a bunch of people on the server, and it, you know, there was a big thing at the bottom of the screen that says, "We are aware of server instability." I didn't see any server instability, but I guess maybe somewhere else on the server there was. But
probably depends on where you're at and what time you were connecting, probably.
I guess, yeah. But it wasn't bad. There was an issue if you have one of the new. What are the new graphics cards? The 2030s? Is that what those are? 2030s and
3080s.
3080s.
There's many 30 series for NVIDIA. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, anyway, if you run the frames per second, frame rate uncapped, it might actually burn your card up or brick it.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I remember seeing that.
Yeah. So
which
it's
NVIDIA's
with one model. It's only with one model.
I think it's the 3090, because there was a thing where NVIDIA is going to replace the 3090s burned up by the New World MMO. It was like a headline. I didn't click on it, but I remember seeing it on one of the PC sites I was on.
It was like, first thing I did when I logged in, when I opened up the game, let me go ahead and put that cap at 60 just in case. This is not like,
oh, what? Your monster card can put out 10,000 frames a second? Well, that's just gonna burn it up.
Yeah, apparently it was real weird, and it's like only one like brand of graphics cards too. It's a very weird bug. It was very strange, but it's very action RPG-ish. It's not your normal. I mean, you got your quest. Go over here, kill this, collect that, bring it back. You know, it's got that kind of stuff. It's very heavy in crafting though, because you could guild up with people and build like outposts and cities and homes. And
I was gonna say, there's usually a lot of crafting in MMO. So how does a crafting heavy MMO mean?
Well, I mean, like when in the tutorial, when the second thing they show you is how to craft food, and then you open up the tier tree, and it's food and, you know, leather crafting and weaving and, you know, stone. I mean, there must be 15 different crafting things you could do in this game, and there are no classes, so it's not like when you build a guy, you're building a mage or you're building a warrior, or it's all in how you spec. If you want like a mage-like character, you spec like a mage-like character, and then there's
kind of classes eventually just on how you fill stuff out. Is that kind of what you'd say it would be like? Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, you're not saying, well, I need a tank. You need somebody who is like a tank. You know, you need some, you got healers, but, it's not like...
I mean, it sounds like everybody starts out in kind of a similar place, but by the time you would get, like, way into it, then you would still have similar classes, even if nothing of people like, I like playing this and other things, I will spec out for this,
Right, yeah. Well, it's just kind of cool, because you're not locked when you make a character. You're not like, well, you either got a mage or a paladin or a warrior or a healer or a rogue or...
Well, especially for if you don't know how the game plays, and gives you the chance to kind of try a bunch of things out before you're like, okay, this is what I really like, and so that's what you keep going for. That sounds like it's a good thing.
Yeah, and you don't dual weapon yet. I hear that's something that may be coming, but you can carry two weapons at one time, so you can carry like a bow and a sword, or a sword and an axe, or an axe and or however you want to.
But can you use your sword as an arrow in your bow? Because that would be cool.
Would be cool. But
oh crap! Now I gotta go get it back.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, so far I just played the little opening tutorial thing and did the missions, and then they're like, "Hey, we need you to go into town and let this guy know what's going on." That's where I stopped at because they were doing server maintenance for about 3 hours. So it was like, all right, well, I may come back to it later. But so far, I kind of like it. It's $40, no monthly subscription to it, so it's just $40. And if you want to buy cosmetics, that's where they're going to make their money at. It's nothing no pay to play or pay to win or anything like that. It's all just skins and stuff like that. So it's weird though, because it's supposed to be this fantasy game, but it feels like you're in like 16th century America. It's very strange. And I'm wondering if it started out as this survival, colonial times game, and then they kind of changed it as things went on. I don't know. It seems weird because you got conquistador like guy helmets on running around doing things, and it's like, I don't feel very fantasy, but they have these weird zombie plague things that have been taken over.
And that doesn't, I think it's just a different flavor than what you typically see. You can still have fantasy there, but that's just not what most fantasy games are, riffing on as far as their design. So that could be a plus too. Have some little bit of a different flavor there.
Yeah, and for $40, it seems pretty good for $40, especially if you're tired of the Warcraft scene and you don't want to pay maybe a monthly fee for Final Fantasy 14 or something like that. You just want an you want an MMO, you can hop in and play. I'm interested though to get into the towns and get up with a guild and see about this whole crafting villages and stuff like that.
That's exactly why I've been enjoying sort of Legends Online so much lately too, because they came out roughly around the same time not long ago, and I'm so tired of subscription fees, so just having to enjoy an MMO of that caliber and really having the only transactions that you can do outside of purchasing the base game itself really just be something that's cosmetic is that's all I want. That's fine, because then it makes things feel a little more optional. You don't feel like you constantly have stuff being shoved down your throat because they got to make an extra buck or two here in order to thrive. So it's something I really appreciate,
and I like not having to pay a monthly fee, because then I don't feel obligated that I have to play it at least 3 times
exactly
to get my money and time worth in it.
Yep. And that's the biggest thing for me is just none of us really have that sort of time anymore like we used to, and just so if you're paying, which typically $15 a month seems to be the favorite price point for a lot of these subscriptions. Again, and I think I said this on the last podcast, where it's especially in Final Fantasy terms, because they don't do 30 days, they do 60-day cards for Final Fantasy 14. So
you can do 30-day, but you don't do cards. You have to just
right.
Or whatever.
So out of the 60 days or just 30 days on Warcraft, I'm really only getting maybe about at most 20% of that time, so I'm paying however much.
It's like I said last time, I'm not even getting that. I literally bought Final Fantasy 14 on the PS5, bought a subscription card, did the subscription card, played it an hour, and now my 2 months is about up, and I've played an hour because that's all I've had.
Yeah. And I know that feeling. and it sucks too, because sometimes you'll get a random urge to jump in, and then my subscription's expired, and it's how did 2 months pass already like that? And it's I only played I think the last time I had Final Fantasy 14 was probably earlier in the year maybe, and out of the 2 months I probably put at most just I think I played for 5 straight days, but again, out of 60 days, that's nothing. So
and that's what aggravated me. It was I don't have time. But
I think I would feel like I would at least get my money's worth if I did just jumped on a couple times a week, but not even that. Can't even do that. Not with the amount that we're reviewing and
time commitment, and then I feel the same way, Dennis. I can relate. Like I want to pay for it. I want to play, but it always comes down to having other games.
Yeah, exactly. Like I wouldn't have bought it if I didn't intend on playing it.
I just get mad. $30 a month.
Well, and and then I'm on the road 5 days a week, so then I come home, and then if it's a weekend that we're doing the show, I may have time to play during the day, but most of the time I don't because we're going to the grocery store. I'm doing laundry. I'm getting ready to go back out again. So it's like I just don't have time for MMOs. But this one I kind of like. I go in. I do. I played maybe an hour and a half. I got to level 6 or 7. I got out of the starting area. It was a good accomplishment of I actually accomplished something in a short amount of time. It wasn't like I had to slog through 10 hours just to get to point B. It was like, okay, well, that wasn't too bad. So
and Swords of Legends is like the same way too, where like even if you're just playing for an hour, you can still feel somewhat accomplished because you can take care of quite a bit in that amount of time.
If you're mildly interested, pre-order it on Amazon. They don't charge you till the 31st when the game comes out. A day later, they'll send you a code. The beta's going on till the 2nd, I think. So, it's if you like it and you want to buy it, keep it. If not, you can always just cancel it. I mean, cancel your pre-order. No big deal. But that's what I did. It was worth it to me just to try it out and go, well, this is something I may want. And $40 for a brand new game, it's not bad. I won't complain about $40. But it's a game made by Amazon. I was like, okay, this is kind of weird. But once I got over the opening thing with Amazon games, it's like, oh, okay. Other than them wanting to connect my Twitch account so I could get like bonus stuff, it was like, okay, it's no big deal. I'm sure they'll probably eventually want me to connect my Prime account to it because they'll have some monthly Twitch Prime perk thing.
This is the first Amazon game. Wink, wink, wink.
Yeah. Let's see. One was
certainly the only one you can play.
One was canceled. Let's see. What was it? The one never got off the ground, and then the other one was canceled or something. It was weird.
There's like one that was out for like a hot second.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they've canceled it. Yeah, it's just like they haven't quite gotten like over the hump of here's a successful one that people are playing that actually brought us in money.
Well,
maybe this will be it.
It could be. There was a lot of people playing. There was a lot of people playing. I had to wait in a minute and a half queue, which I mean it's nothing, but still to log on to an MMO that's in beta and wait for a queue, that's
on the plus side. It's Amazon, so they've got the infrastructure for servers.
And
they can have as many as they want almost.
Crap ton of servers already on there. I mean, the list was ridiculous. I mean, it was absolutely.
I mean, when you control it, you can spin up as many servers as you want, and you're only going to have your cost for running them. You're going to have the cost for like another company would have to pay you to have them spin up.
And what was funny was there's all kinds of different servers, and then some of them have the same sub names, and what they are is the sub names are different quote unquote servers, but they can combine them and expand them depending on population. So if it ends up there's not a lot of people on, they can combine those two, and you don't have to move off of that server. You'll never know when it happens. It'll just
the power of virtual servers.
Yeah, it's like all right. So yeah, I might play it some more tonight after we get done recording, unless somebody wants to play some Sea of Thieves or something. But if not, I may play a little bit of that before I go to bed because I do want to play a little more of it before the weekend's up. But the other one I played was Death's Door, and Nathaniel, you got this on PC, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's only on PC and Xbox as far as I understand it.
Yeah. So
at least right now, they might put it out somewhere else later.
How much have you played of it? I only played just like maybe an hour of it or less than that.
I'm way more than that. I don't know hour-wise. I didn't look, but I've beaten 2 of the 3 like boss things that you start out with. Like the first boss in quotes doesn't count.
Right. Yeah, I beat the first.
It's kind of part of the intro, and there's like a little tiny boss like within like the first 20 minutes or something.
Yeah.
and then you get into like the game proper, and then when you have like the pause menu, you can see like, oh, there's 3 spots for stuff I'll get from bosses, and then there's stuff that expands my health and my magic, and then there's like weapon slots. It's very much a Zelda game.
Oh,
That's pretty much what it is.
It really
like an
is.
old school Zelda game.
Yeah.
Or maybe like some of the like the handheld type ones where it's kind of like it's not a top down, it's not like a full 3D, but you're at kind of like a
3-4. It's like Diablo. Whatever.
Yeah.
Like an asymmetric or isometric. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, except it's not technically isometric. I don't think it might be just hidden very well based on the art style because it doesn't have that isometric angled look that some games have. But it's awesome.
Yeah,
it's really
good. I played the first tutorial boss, and then I got to the part where you unlock the gate, and they just keep opening up doors and wave after wave after wave. And I was too tired to try to keep up with waves, and I was like, oh, crap, I'm getting hit. And then, I got real deep into it, and then I died, and then I went back, and I was so tired when I played it again, I didn't even get past the first 2 people. It was like, okay, I'm too tired for this. I need to be able to concentrate, and I'm not able to concentrate on it. So, but I did want to try it out because I bought it the day it came out, but I didn't have a chance to play it until last night, so...
I want to play it. My girlfriend surprised me with it. So I was just actually in the middle of, what was I playing? I think I was playing Overwatch actually, and then all of a sudden the whole application shut down because the Steam gift box came up and just and just overrided everything. So, but it was a pleasant surprise though. So I'm excited to jump in because that game looks like fantastic.
Yeah. It looks
like
good.
You play as like
smooth. It's really smooth.
For a game that's like 2 people or whatever that made it, or at least there's 2 people maybe they got some contract work on it too. I don't know, but it's very very polished.
Yeah, it is.
Isn't it, who published it? Was it Devolver?
Digital.
Devolver put it out.
I love Devolver, man. Devolver, like they bring out some quality titles. They really do.
But yeah, you're like you play as a little crow character who, you start with like a sword, and then within a couple seconds you pick up an umbrella that if you beat the entire game with just the umbrella, which is a weak weapon, that you get an achievement for it.
Oh, jeez.
Because I looked up, and I was like, nope, not doing that. Because it's hard enough with the main weapon.
Yeah, it is.
It's a game that does a lot of like up and down on difficulty.
Yeah.
As far as stuff, because you'll go through like all your main, you have like kind of several different what you think of as the overworld in a Zelda game, but instead of being like one big overworld, there's like several different ones, and then there's like dungeon in kind of each area. It's like each big area is around one of the bosses, and it's all about like, okay, finding your way through to get to where the boss is, and then you beat the boss and you've kind of like beat that area. Although there are a boatload of just like secrets in this game, as far as just like, here's a thing, you get an ability later, if you come back you can go, you get a cool little like some upgrade points or a key or whatever. There's all sorts of just little stuff hidden in nooks and crannies everywhere. Although like you can tell this game would be different if it was made by a bigger studio, because there's some design stuff that like frustrated me a little bit, because there's all this hidden stuff in previous areas, but there's no reason to go back there unless you want to go collect all this stuff. And a couple of times, hey, I got new weapons by going back here, but I never would have gotten them if I hadn't just like went and wandered around this other area. And I was like, oh, these weapons are cool. I like this one.
Yeah, it's been one of those type of games that I just, even for the little bit I played, I was like, well, I'm going to go over here. It doesn't look like there's anything, but there may be something over there.
Yeah.
And that's how I found the umbrella. It was like...
Overall, it's really good. There's just some small things where, like, okay, the difficulty here just, like, ramped up way a bunch and frustrated me a little bit, but eventually pushed through all of those. Or... there's a thing where like you get kind of like Zelda where you find heart pieces to increase your health or whatever. It's like crystal pieces in this game. You have to collect 4 of them to increase your health, but there's only 8 total in the game. Whereas I wish they would have balanced it differently to where like, because they're so off the beaten path and difficult and so far in between to find these, that like each one would have bumped up your health a little bit, would have been nicer. But because they're doing them by like gems and it's not like a health bar, they can't do that. Or just, just the way that they do it. Same with like magic, you get 4 of them, it'll upgrade your magic, but there's only total of like 8. So there's like 16 of these things between health and magic in the entire game, which I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I'm already getting closer to the end before I even upgrade my health once. It's like, I wish that would have been a little different, but it's still fine. It's just a very little small thing. But the cool thing though are like whenever you go into an area, you go through kind of like all of the like mobs and stuff out there. They're all different kind of per area, so you get some cool variety of like, oh hey, this one has carnivorous plants, this one has different stuff. And then you get all the way into kind of like through the first area into the first dungeon in quotes, and then in that you have to get kind of basically 4 keys, and then you go through like a giant that'll unlock a giant. It's not keys, technically they're souls, but I'm calling them keys because that's pretty much what they are. You get like there's these crows that have been there before, and you find their spirit and release them, and it goes into this door. Once you get 4 of them, it opens up. You go in there, and it's like, look, treasure, a giant treasure chest that's like 10 times bigger than my little crow guy. Oh, of course it's a mimic and it's going to bite me and send me into this weird wave-based fight where you have to do 4 waves of tough enemies all at once, sometimes even ones that you haven't even encountered in the world yet. And then once you beat those, then you get a new ability. So that's when you get your new magic stuff. So you start with like a bow and arrow, and then you get like fireball and bombs eventually, and then a grappling hook. Which when I got that, I was like, yes, thank you, because I've seen so many of these stupid grappling hook points all over all these areas. Now I can go use them. So yeah, I've got all of the like basic ability things, which you can like switch with the D-pad which one you have active, and you kind of like hold in the left trigger and then hold in the B button to charge it, and then let go in order to fire it. So it's a little bit unwieldy at first, but after you do it a few times, it's like, oh, okay, I get how this works. And then yeah, it's just pretty much once you get through those, then you go back, and then whatever new ability you got will let you open up a new door to go deeper into the dungeon, and eventually you get down to like the boss. And I've beaten 2 of the bosses, and I am most of the way towards the 3rd boss, so I've gotten pretty deep into the game.
Yeah. I mean, what
the art style is great. The music's really good. Just the combat for what it is feels pretty good. Here's one big thing I wish they changed. They need canceling on the freaking roll animation, because there's one of the levels where there's so many like small like platforms that you can roll off, and like if it didn't hurt you, it would be fine. But when you're in a fight against like half a dozen tough, enemies, and you're rolling around trying to not get hit, and you keep rolling off the edge and losing health and dying because of it, you're just like very frustrated. Yeah. I had that so many times. But it's like I'm trying to roll, and I swear that I'm going left, but he'll go like up off the edge or something because he either bounced off something, or I'm like my input was I maybe rotated the stick, and when I hit the button, it would happen to be up or whatever it was. And every single time I'm trying to like, no, roll back the other way or do something. You can't cancel out of it. So once it starts rolling, you do the full roll, and if you're going off the edge, you're going off the edge.
Do they ever give you a quick fire for your bow? I don't like the charge thing.
No. It's not designed that way.
I know it.
But what you do,
though.
But what happens is you do upgrade with all the like souls, basically whatever it is. I forget what they call it. That you're picking up the little currency that shows up in the bottom corner. You go back to the main hub place where all the doors are, where all the other crows are in the office, and you can spend them on upgrades. So you can upgrade your damage with melee, your damage with magic or ranged. You can upgrade your speed for running around and rolling, so there's less time between rolls, and then also the speed of your attacks. So the speed of your attacks one also increases charge time. Oh. So I've got it 1 from the end, and it's not instant, but it's very fast.
Yeah, that's the one thing that just starting out, it's like I want to just go pow pow pow, and you have to pull. And when you're in that tense situation of you got about 47 things coming at you at one time, and you want to try to hit one way off, it's like you got to stop for a minute, and your brain goes, "Wait a minute, I got to hold that for a second before I let it go."
Here's a secret, John. Ranged doesn't really come into play until midway through the game as far as being viable to hurt things.
Yeah.
Even if you upgraded its damage or something, it still doesn't matter because you only have so many charges, and most of the arenas don't have little things for you to do. So every time you hit something, even if it's just like a random pot or box on the side of a room that's not an enemy, it will pull up one of your magic things. So that's how you refill your basic your magic attacks.
Yeah.
So you might get into a rhythm where you're like, okay, I'll run in and I'll hit somebody a couple times, roll back away, and then fire a fireball or an arrow or something at them from a distance. But even then, it doesn't cause that much damage to them. Unless you have the upgrades. Because each of your 4 magical abilities, if you find it, there are secret places where you go and have an optional boss fight that if you beat it, it then upgrades that ability. Which I found out today, which was awesome. I was like, oh, you mean my fireball spell, now that I upgrade it, sets things on fire now? Great, that's cool. I wish it would have done that from the start.
Yeah,
but
really.
I don't know. It's a really cool game. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is. Like I said, what little bit of it I've played, I really enjoyed it. I like the music, the graphics, the smoothness, the 60 frames a second. I mean, it's just, and I'm not. My TV doesn't do 120 yet. So, it's like,
but even just the little bits of like lore that they have in there of just like what this world is, because you're like a little crow, but you're called a reaper. So you're reaping souls, but because whatever soul you were assigned got away or whatever, you're now mortal. So that's why you're dying in the game.
Right. It's really
but then how they build on that slowly kind of through the game is cool. It's super in depth, but there's enough there that's like, okay, that's kind of fun.
Yeah. The other thing, I dabbled a little bit in Skyward Sword this week. Not much because I didn't have time, but what little bit of it I played for the few minutes of it. I mean, it just takes some getting used to for the camera because you're used to left stick camera or right stick camera and moving around. But this one, since it was a motion control, you have to actually hold down the trigger to move the camera around with the left stick because the left stick actually does your sword fighting too. So it takes a little bit of getting used to, but once you get used to it, it's not that big a deal.
This is why I will never play it. Screw that game.
Yeah. It's great. It's
if they remade it to where it has none of the motion controls, which doesn't make sense because it's designed around that for the whole game. But then just like, I don't know, because with all the directional stuff on that. But if they remade it as just like that didn't matter anymore, maybe I'd play it for all the cool story stuff that's in that game that I've looked up. But I'm just not interested in playing that, especially going backwards now after having Breath of the Wild. It's like, no, that's not the flavor of Zelda. If I want to jump into a Zelda, I'll jump into Breath of the Wild again or something.
Not only that, but
this is the kind of Zelda that I like, though. This is the dungeon Zeldas.
The more dungeon.
Or hey, if I wanted that, I would go back and do like Wind Waker or something somewhere else like that before I'd want to do that one.
If they just remastered Twilight Princess, if anything, because that's the only one that hasn't been touched on yet, really, when you think about it. Actually, well, no, I guess they did
it on Wii U.
All they have to do is just port it over with Wind Waker.
Put the Wii U of that and Wind Waker, put them over on the Switch. Why are you waiting? Especially with a freaking Zelda anniversary year. Put them out. Like, no one, like, sure, there's some people who want Skyward Sword, great, but if you had said, nah, we're never going to do Skyward Sword, here's these two, there'd be way more people happy than, hey, here's Skyward Sword, we're not going to do anything with these other two games. This is like,
you could just like shower people too, just like, or just do what they did with the Mario triple pack. Just give people the Skyward, the Zelda, the Wind Waker, and the Twilight Princess. They won't because they know they can sell each for $60 separately. And
I will happily pay them for $60.
I would actually buy those two games. I'm not buying Skyward Sword as much as I like Zelda. It's just like, nope.
Yeah, I
not that one.
I didn't care for Skyward Sword on the Wii, but after just playing it for a few minutes on the Switch, I like it a lot. It's just once you get used to hitting that button for the camera when you need it, which you don't need it that often. Just every once in a while, you just need to recenter yourself and recenter the camera, and you're good. But so far, like I said, what little bit I played of it, I really like it. What's funny to me is how many people were on social media saying, I'm not going to play it, I'm not going to buy it, I'm not going to buy it. And every one of them that I've seen have bought it and go, this is the best Zelda game I've ever played. This is great. It's like, wow, it's like,
I don't know. The game itself just didn't. I appreciate the game. I played it when it came out on Wii, and I have great memories of it because I remember specifically staying up till 6 a.m. with my friend playing that game until we beat it, and that was like an awesome experience. But I just don't care for it enough to. It's honestly one of my least favorite Zeldas, however, I absolutely hopped on everything else that came out with it. So the amiibo I got and then we were able to get the Joy-Con as well.
Joy-Cons have been super easy to get. Every Walmart, speaking of...
I'm actually surprised.
Yeah,
they're everywhere. I mean,
I've been seeing them in stock.
The Amiibo is the hard one to find.
Yeah, well, the Amiibo is the hard one.
Yes.
Well, that one is the hard one because they are still on a boat coming over from China. That was the official word. That the boat got delayed. And
is it the Amiibo?
Yeah, the Amiibo. Yeah, exactly.
I want it to be so bad.
Because
made out of Amiibos?
I actually called the local GameStop because sometimes they get extra ones in, and this one they said nope, they only got the ones that they pre-ordered in, but they were told by Nintendo that by the end of this month or the end of August or middle of August, sometime in August they'll have a dozen of them because they've got more coming. So people paying stupid amounts for them, losing their mind, are dumb. But yeah, I walked into Walmart, and I've walked into 3 different Walmarts in the past 2 days, and they had 10 of those Joy-Con sets a piece, and each store had 3 Series S. So it was like, nobody, and people on Facebook trying to sell those Joy-Cons for $150. I'm like, look, you can go to Walmart and buy them $10 less in retail.
I was going to say, like,
they're cheaper than the retail. They're $59. I mean, they're, at Walmart, it's like, whatever. And I ordered mine the day after they came out the day they came out on GameStop. And then later that afternoon, they came up on Amazon. I was like, I could have waited, but
Yeah, well, that's the thing is, like, I was surprised because, like, I wasn't, like, really planning. Like, I was, the thing is, like, I didn't pre-order them this time because I was like, because since I've gotten so used to shell swapping and stuff like that, I was like, you know what, someone's going to make a shell for it. Like, they've done everything else, and then I'll just do it myself. I'll just buy a random. So, like, to me, it's not really limited edition because I can just buy a regular pair of Joy-Con, swap the shells, and call it a day.
Well, and I bought them, and I'm never going to use them. I won't ever use them.
They're beautiful. I promise you.
I just wanted them because they look pretty. That's why. That's why I took them out of the package and went, man, those are really sharp, and I put them back in the package.
So if that's the case, you need to get like a giant version of them to put them on the sides of your TV for no reason, because they're pretty.
Yeah, I wish they made a Joy-Con holder that is just the brick. You know what I mean? I need to get somebody to 3D me just the rail that they go on, so that I can set them up and display them. Because that's the only reason I wanted them is because I have the collector's edition of Skyward Sword with the gold Wiimote. And I just wanted them to go along with that. That's the only reason why I wanted them. It's like, and because I don't use, I'm going to get rid of my Switch Lite because I don't even use it anymore. Since I got that, the grip, I use a Pro Controller and just the tablet. That's all I use. So I don't need Joy-Cons anymore.
You shared that information with us, the grip thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
We spoke about it on the last podcast, I believe.
Yeah, I don't have it down here.
I wasn't here on the last show.
Oh, well, you snooze, you lose.
You'll have to send me a picture later. I'm curious.
I don't have it down here with me. I meant to bring it. It's upstairs in the case.
Oh, no rush. I'm just curious.
I end up taking it instead of my Switch Lite. So this week I was like, all right, I'm just going to get rid of my Switch Lite because that was the reason I had this Lite was for travel. So it was like, all right, well, I don't need it. I'm just hoping that I did pre-order an OLED version of the Switch just in case I decide I want to get it. If it fits in that grip, if there's no thickness difference, then I'm definitely going to get it because it's like, okay, well, I play it handheld and why not have a little better screen? So, and sell my other Switch too. So,
I was really hoping that they, with the latest Switch, they would have been like, and we fixed those Joy-Con problems. Woo!
Well, they won't admit it because they'll have to have so many come back to fix.
Yeah,
but
massively.
It's a pretty easy fix to fix them yourself, though, if you ever have it.
Yeah. Somebody said you could use like a little piece of cardboard, actually.
I was going to say there was an article that came out within the last couple of days that was just like, look, I mean, granted, you do have to be a little savvy with it because you do have to take apart the Joy-Con, but if you just put a little strip of cardboard in there, I mean, that basically permanently fixes your drift problem because nothing's going to
get in there. Or if you want to fix it for, I don't know how long it lasts, but you can take the rubber part that's over the whatever the dome is where it moves, flip that up and get some lubricant, shoot it in there, takes care of it too.
Yep.
There we go. The only problem is if you have a Switch Lite, it's slightly more work.
It's still got the rubber thing you flip up. Now for the cardboard thing, that's a whole lot more.
Yeah,
my buddy sent his Lite in 3 times for drift issues. So.
I've never had any drift issues with any of the Joy-Cons I have, and we have. Well,
I don't use my Joy-Cons that much.
Nikki's got hers, and then she bought another set. I've got mine, and I bought another set to mod, and then I've got my Switch Lite, and I've never had any. We've never had any drift issues with any of it. So, but now I won't because I won't use Joy-Cons anymore. So
there you go.
But
I've had to send in a few, but honestly, for the most part, like I've been pretty. Most of my Joy-Con have been pretty good, but I have had to send in a few though to get repaired. Thankfully, because of the whole issue, Nintendo has since they got like sued maybe like 2 years ago. Their kind of like compensation for everybody was just like, all right, you know what? Free repairs. So it's nice that like I send it in, it's completely free, and then I wait maybe a week, and then I get it back, and it's like brand new. And the best part is if they can't fix it, they literally replace it with a brand new set of Joy-Cons. Great.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
completely free. So it's awesome.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I if you look back through my Twitter, Eric, I took pictures of that back in June when I got it in. But yeah, I think you can buy the grip on Amazon for $35, or you can get it with the case for $50. And what's cool is the grip also can be a stand if you want to set it on the tabletop and use the controller by itself. It's the best thing ever. I'm not usually much for those clip phone type things, but this one is such high quality and works so good because the controller actually you can put the screen over the controller, so you got your hands behind the unit playing it. I mean, it's great. So I like it. But anyway, Nathaniel, go ahead. You were talking about Death's Door, so you can go ahead and talk about the other things you've been playing.
I don't have a whole lot. I have been playing a little bit more Minecraft. I actually have the exterior of a starter base or whatever you want to call it. Like I built a tower over my cave because it was kind of like a cave instead of a cliff. So on top of the cliff, I built a tower, and I just got to do the inside because I haven't gotten back into it since I built the outside part.
Yeah.
So my plan is to connect it to the cave that I already have, just dig down and then like where all my storage is, so they'll actually like be like, okay, the tower's basement's inside the cliff. That makes it easy. But I haven't gotten that far yet because I haven't played as much games in between shows this time as I do normally. I've been like watching more things, like streaming some different movies and stuff, like all the Fear Street stuff on Netflix. I watched all 3 of those in one day.
Oh yeah,
that was really fun.
And we've been watching Modern Family because we've never seen Modern Family. So in the summertime when Nikki's off, we always pick a show to watch. Last year, I think it was Cheers. We watched the entire. So this year, since we got Peacock, it's like, okay, let's watch Modern Family.
I love
There's a few of them on there. There's a lot of that show.
Yeah, I think there's 9 seasons or something like that. We're not.
There's a lot now.
We're not going to get through it all this year or this summer though. But
for a network sitcom, it's not too bad. It's
not. I'm a big Al Bundy fan, so it was.
There you go.
So I don't know how we missed it when it was on TV, but we did. We didn't.
You're probably just busy with other stuff. I mean, it was on TV. Well, did it just finish?
Yeah, it finished a couple of years ago.
No, it was on TV originally about the same time as Big Bang Theory. That's how I always remember, because I used to watch Big Bang Theory.
2008, 2009, something like that. I don't think we had. Yeah. I think that was back the time when we didn't have cable and we were streaming stuff, and like ABC didn't have any streaming capability, so I think we missed a lot of it that way. So, but. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with sitting around watching a bunch of stuff. There's a bunch of stuff to watch. Ted Lasso came out last night. It's great.
Yeah, but that's not a thing I don't have.
Well,
there's always that one. It's like, unless you want to pay subscriptions fees for all the different ones, you're going to miss out on something.
You have a PlayStation 5, though, right? You have a PlayStation 5, though,
Sure,
right?
Yeah.
Well, you log into your PlayStation 5, you download the Apple TV app, you get 6 months at no charge because you're a PlayStation 5 owner. So there you go. So there's actually...
Congratulations to the 100,000 people that will take advantage of that.
I tell you what, that Ted Lasso show is worth it just to watch. We watched the entire first season in like 2 days when we first.
Yeah, that's what I've heard on that one. It's pretty good. And I forget the name of it. I'd have to look it up. But there's another show or two on Apple that was like, if I had it, I'd watch it. But it's not worth it enough to go pay for it.
The other one we're watching right now is it's a musical. Shadoo.
Is it a show?
Yeah, it's a show. It's got a bunch of the Saturday Night Live people in it.
That was the ridiculous name. It's like Showalgalagag or whatever.
Like Shaduko, or I can't remember how they say it. Yeah. It is a comedy, but it's a musical. It is hilarious. It's about people stuck in a little town.
I saw a trailer.
Where they sing.
I saw a trailer for that, and it actually it looked good actually.
Yeah,
but then I saw the Apple Plus or the Apple TV, whatever that's called, thing come up, and I was like, okay, all right. I hope everyone enjoys that because I'm just not gonna get it.
Yeah, well, and I don't blame you. I mean, it's $50 a year, $5 a month. We got it because I bought a new phone, so it came with a year of Apple TV, and then. Sony,
I'm just not an Apple guy, so
yeah. And then Sony did their 6 months yesterday for free, so now I've got it till like September of 2022 or something. Because like that 6 months stacked on top of my year anyway, so it was like, all right, it's free. Ted Lasso, it's worth it to pay $5 for it just to watch all the 2 seasons of Ted Lasso when they get done. You can binge them real quick. It is a good show. I was surprised how much I like that show. It was really, really good. And I don't like soccer, but it's not soccer that's the selling point of the show. So, but anyway, Nathaniel, you're playing games, but you haven't played a lot. Sorry.
I stopped playing Dragon Age Origins because it was crashing on me enough. I was just like, I'm not enjoying it enough to kind of keep pushing through it. So I'm like, let's boot up Dragon Age 2 and just start that one and see how it goes. And I've gotten kind of through the quote intro part, even though there's like a few pieces of it. So I've all the way made it to Kirkwall and then like got through the gates because when you first get there, you can't get in the city. So I've gotten there to where now it's opened up into like the game proper, and I have a bunch of quests that showed up. Especially like the DLC stuff, because the edition I bought has all of the like little add-on packs and stuff. It's like, go to your home and pick up this, and this. It's like, okay.
All right.
Here, I'll just like get all of those so it will complete the quests, and then dump all this, like gear that I can't even use yet because I'm not that level, and just dump it into my like storage chest and come back later. That game's a little weird because I played on console when it first came out, and so like this is yet another older BioWare game where the PC version only has keyboard mouse controls. You cannot do controller on it. As like, thank goodness they stopped doing that after this one. But
I just think that's like one of the weirdest things. Like that, I have like a pet peeve where it's just like if you are on a platform that supports a gamepad and you do it there, but then you come to PC and you don't support the gamepad.
But that's the era. It's not necessarily BioWare. It's just like that was this is squarely in the transition period where studios were starting to like put way more thought into their PC ports as far as just like putting all of the things in it, whereas before there was a lot less of that. It's amazing if you look back, like, okay, in the last like 10 to 15 years, how much just the quality of PC ports as a whole, because there are certainly good ones in the past, but as a whole, like you get a PC game now and you're like, okay, I can be sure I can use a controller on it if it was a game made for that, or if I want to do the keyboard mouse, I can do that. I've got all these different things I can adjust. For the most part, most PC ports are pretty good.
Not to mention, like a good example of that is that I think when it was on sale, maybe like 2 or 3 weeks ago, I thought about getting Final Fantasy 13 too, because I was feeling nostalgic and I wanted it. I have it on Xbox One via backwards compatibility, but I thought about getting it on PC. And but then I was reading all the reviews and everybody was like, just to let you know, this game will not run. It's just not compatible with modern hardware. On top of that, there's just a lot of problem with the optimization that you need to literally download a fix, an unauthorized fix, by the way.
Third party to make everything run.
But it does make it work. It does make it work. Yeah, it's a third party, like fan made fix that does that does make it work. But in terms of like what Square Enix did, Square Enix just put it on Steam and was just like, that's it. They left. They were just like, see, it's on PC. It's like, yes, but I can't play. I still can't play it.
It reminds me of Nier Automata on PC had the fan-made fix that they just now put out an official patch for Nier Automata however many years later that pretty much does the same thing.
Yeah, I remember that.
Like Square, when it comes to their PC ports, is like them and Bandai Namco. Granted, to Bandai Namco's defense, they've been getting better actually, but Square is just a mess.
Oh yeah, like the original Dark Souls PC port that had to have a fan patch in order to fix it, and it was still a bit like wonky, but it worked better because like it was great. It would run at 60 frames per second, but you had to turn it back up. There was a toggle on it specifically because of the physics tied in that there's a couple things you could not do when it was running at 60 FPS, including like there's the like place where at Firelink where you jump off and you go up to get to the nest to go back to the asylum. That you can't make that jump unless you toggled it back to 30 frames a second on that port. Now, like for the remastered version, it's fine because that was like something they did way later. But yeah, like that original Dark Souls port, because that was one of the first PC kind of ports that they even put out, if I remember, at least for the Souls games for sure. But I don't remember overall. But yeah, I just remember that one was like, hey, I need a patch for this. Same for Dragon Age 2, but I did that by choice because of the era it was made in. It's an executable that can only utilize up to 2 gigs of your system memory. So I patched it out so that I could do a mod that was like a big overhaul for textures that are 4K textures.
Oh, jeez, wow.
And
so yeah, it's not even like it's hefty by today's standards. Like you need a graphics card that can do up to like 4 gigs of memory or something or other, and I forget what the system memory requirement for the mod was. It's like, here's what's recommended. Like, yeah, most systems blow past that if you have, a decent built system from the past, even like 5, 6, 7, who knows, however many years back, depending on what you bought. But yeah, so it's like I can handle it, but because you have to patch the executable for the game, otherwise it can't utilize all of that and it will crash on you.
Makes sense.
But yeah, it was easy to do. It's just this is my choice, and yeah, so far it's been fine, and it looks really good.
Yeah,
although some part, it's like anytime you do that on an old game, it's like, hey, you could tell this has only a certain level of detail in the geometry, but man, them textures are sharp. The weird thing that it does though is cutscenes in the game, like the pre-rendered cutscenes, or at least I'm assuming they're pre-rendered because some of them are not. But the ones that are pre-rendered in the game, in the top corner where I've got my FPS counter, it's still locked at 144 or whatever, but it's obviously 30 frames a second. So it's some weird thing to where, yes, technically whatever the engine is doing is outputting 100 whatever frames, but you're still watching a 30 frames per second video. So I'm like, this is not smooth enough to be 140 frames, I could tell. Because I just had the gameplay and it was running at 140, and now this like cutscene, not as smooth. It's still fine. It's just you can tell, like it bouncing straight from one to the other. You can easily see the difference.
Yeah.
Well, like going back just a little bit is like when just on the topic of just like odd ports and stuff like that. It's like there's a lot of games obviously on Switch that come from mobile ports or when they release on Switch, release simultaneously as on mobile as well. But the part that kills me more than anything, and I'll get to this once I start talking about my set of games, but Pokemon Unite, for example, which just came out, that is coming to mobile phones next month, I believe. It's just out first on Switch. For some reason, no touchscreen support, and it bothers me. Like sometimes I just like being able to select things, especially in the character selection screen when it's time to do the match. Like everybody selects a character so fast, I just want to tap it and just be done, and get on it. But when games like that don't have touchscreen support, when it has had the support in the past, it's just such a weird feature to omit when the screen is perfectly capable of doing that.
I wonder if there's something in the hardware or the coding or something that's different enough that it would take too much effort to do. Because if it was just like 1 or 2 here or there, but it's a lot of games that do that. They're just like, maybe they're just like, it costs too much to add it in. Who knows? That is
maybe weird. It just seems weird when especially because a lot of them, they don't exactly change the UI or anything either. So the general menu formats and just the way the whole game functions is identical more or less. So they just get rid of the touchscreen support. And it's just super odd. So yeah, and then it's just another thing. It's just like how the Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne remake is like capped at 30 frames even on PC. Like that's so stupid to me. I just think like that, stuff like that is just obnoxious. Like just don't ever cap stuff, especially in an old game like that.
Sometimes they have to cap it because of the like engine it's running in or whatever. If you uncap it, everything just explodes and breaks.
Or it burns up your graphics card.
Or it burns up your
Or bricks. I guess it bricks it. I don't know if it burns it up.
All I'm asking for is like options. You know what I mean? Like I'm not saying now, but at most like 60. Like even if I can do 120 plus, because I have the monitor that supports it. I think Nathaniel and I literally have the same Asus ROG monitor, but like it, you know. Just give me 60 at least. That's all I'm asking for. You know what I mean? But you know, and to be fair, a game like that doesn't necessarily need it. But a game as old as that, and then it just, I don't know. It's just there's no reason why it shouldn't be there, or why it wouldn't be possible. It's not exactly, you know, pushing the technical limits of anything. So you know, it's you know, I don't look at it and go, oh my god, those pores. Yeah, you look at those pores. So.
What if you did?
Can you imagine? Imagine like a realistic Shin Megami Tensei game. That'd be weird. That'd be weird. To be fair, like the mobile game looks amazing. Actually, the graphics on the mobile game are like fantastic. Yeah. But yeah.
Now I've just got in my head some weird thing to where it's like what they do with some remakes, where here's what it originally looks like and here's the remake. So it's like you're just playing one that looks normal, and then you hit a toggle. It's like, oh, what is these realistic graphics? This is so weird.
Yeah.
That's what I liked about the. What was those games? The Monster Boy games. They would do that. They had the cartoony graphics, and then you switch it back to the old graphics, and you're like, "Oh wow, yeah, that's a big difference."
Yeah. Also, like the Master
Halo.
Chief Collection.
Yeah, I was going to say Halo does that too. Yeah.
They have like the really polished, beautiful, like modern day graphics, and then but if you want to put it in the OG Xbox days, you can do that too with a click of a button.
And if you do it,
I mean, that's just more just like look how old versus new fidelity thing. But what if it was just like completely different art styles of just like toggling that? That could be.
Well,
weird,
Monster was like that too. I would say, you know. It's weird. Like all those games are the Monster Boy, Wonder Boy, all those like those kind of really kind of bounce around all over the place. I think the only one that's really just like intentionally had a different art style every game. Now that I think about it, I mean they've been consistent in like a certain sort of look, but you can clearly see the different iterations between each entry. Is like Shantae. Shantae is like the one that hasn't really had the same sort of art direction. You have a general tone and atmosphere and stuff, but and flavor, but you don't. Every single one, like if you put all the Shantaes back, you know, side by side, they very clearly are different in one way or another. One's more curvaceous than the other. One's maybe got you know slimmer. One's a little more you know taller, more chibi looking. You know, they're all sort of different in their own way. So
yeah. So anything else, Nathaniel, before we?
No, I mean, I haven't gotten super deep into Dragon Age 2 or anything, so it's not like there's much more to talk about. It's like, yep, I made it all the way into the city, went into my home, and that's about where I'm at now. It's all like, okay, I'll boot it back up and start some quests.
Yeah. Well, go ahead, Dennis. You were talking about Pokemon.
Yeah, Pokemon
I haven't
Unite.
downloaded it yet, but I knew it came up the other day.
Yeah, check it out. It's free. It's cool. Like if you're a fan of MOBAs, I played Heroes of the Storm for like years and years straight. So so that's kind of my history with MOBAs. Most of my friends go into League of Legends, and I'm sure most people do as well. But you know, me, especially at the time, being such a fan of Blizzard, well, maybe not so much anymore. We'll get to that, but you know, we'll get to that once we get to the news. But at that time, like Heroes was like that was everything to me. I mean, that was like, you know, you name it. Actually, my first pair of Gunner glasses were Heroes of the Storm themed Gunner glasses. They had a collaboration that they did. And I mean, I had everything, you name it. The Heroes of the Storm jackets, you know, so much, you know, memorabilia and stuff like that. So and merchandise. So, but yeah, it was everything. But that's where most of my sort of history came from with MOBAs. I'd never really gotten into MOBAs before. I dabbled in a little bit of League, but it wasn't for me. I wasn't feeling it. But Heroes just kind of did things that was like very just a lot more intuitive, and it felt a lot more team-based as well versus other MOBAs. And so and Pokemon Unite feels more like that. They put a big emphasis on the heroes and team like the team based sort of gameplay versus, you can have the 5v5 like you would in League, but the biggest problem is everyone's in varying levels, right? Everyone's in varying levels, and like everyone is constantly talking smack just because of, it's easy to single one person out because of maybe them just not, performing, up to par where everybody else is or where they should be. And it just turns into just an unbalanced mess. But with Heroes of the Storm and much like Pokemon Unite, everything is consistently even. So, it's now granted, someone can easily cost you your team if they don't, perform up to par. Yes. But that's more of a task thing than it is simply, like items and stuff like that. This is very much even more slimmed down version of a MOBA, where Pokemon Unite, you have multiple zones on a map, and they pretty much serve as like towers kind of before you get to the core at the end in a normal MOBA. And what you would do is basically you're going around and you're collecting these orbs, basically these sort of like eon points, whatever they call them. And as you collect these orbs, you go to the zones and you just slam dunk these orbs basically. So every zone basically has, let's just call it health. Let's just say it has 100 HP, right? And you go into the zones and I have 30 orbs on me. So I dunk the orbs and now it has 70 HP left, right? And you just kind of keep doing this over the course of 5 to 10 minutes. And then by the end of the match, it kind of gauges whether you've won or lost, not so much off of how many zones you've gotten rid of, like a normal MOBA would, but rather how many points you've dunked. So it almost has like a sports sort of like a perspective to it as well. So it's all about points. Now, obviously, getting kills and stuff is definitely useful because the biggest use of that or the biggest benefit of that is, of course, they get to, they're out of the field for a certain amount of time, right? So they have to take time to respawn and stuff. So you can go and quickly just dunk some more points in some of these zones. But otherwise, as useful as it is, it's not the most important. Like you definitely want to, farm a lot of the other Pokemon and they utilize the sort of mechanics that we've always known from Pokemon pretty well too, as you're, leveling up from, getting experience from knocking out these Pokemon will evolve, right? So, you'll have a Venusaur that starts off as a Bulbasaur, then it turns into an Ivysaur, and then it turns into a Venusaur after a certain amount of levels. And then through those levels, of course, obviously, as you would in Pokemon, you learn new moves and stuff like that, and you can choose which move you want. And every Pokemon's labeled. There's not many Pokemon at the moment. There's maybe like 12, give or take, I want to say. I was going to round. Maybe that 12 sounds right.
I was thinking there would have been more.
Oh, they're going to be adding more without a doubt. I know Blastoise and Gardevoir are on the way. Currently, they did say that, but at the moment, yeah, there's not much, but it's a healthy selection, and it gets everyone kind of. It doesn't overwhelm people, so that way, if you're curious enough, it gives you, plenty of opportunity to check everybody out, see how everyone plays and stuff like that, and and then kind of see how it sort of fits your play style. Like you have your ranged attackers, you have your melees, you have your supports, right? Like you would in any other sort of class-based sort of game like that. And yeah, it's been a great time so far. I've been playing the last the last 2 days since it's been out. I've been playing with myself and as well as with my friends, and it's great. It doesn't ask much of you. Like every match at most is going to be 10 minutes. It's not going to be like other MOBAs where it just goes until somebody wins. There's no real time limit, and on average, a MOBA match can last around 45 minutes. So if it's balanced anyway, so. It doesn't ask much of you, and the UI is really good. The graphics are clean, and it just bothers me that so many Pokemon games of late have come out and looked amazing, and then meanwhile these mainline games, I don't know what's happening over at Game Freak, but it's like they gave up. I don't know what's going on. All these games look like crap, but the ones that they've been licensing out have actually looked really amazing. Like Pokemon Snap looks fantastic. This looks clean. Like it looks awesome. So Pokemon Masters on mobile is very pretty as well. Like it's awesome. The cafe was beautiful, Pokemon Cafe. So but yeah, no, this is, if you enjoy MOBAs and you enjoy Pokemon, you're gonna love this. Now the transactions, nothing's, again, thankfully pay to win. Everything is purely cosmetic. It doesn't shove anything down your throat either. So and you get a decent amount of stuff just by playing. So it rewards you pretty handsomely. So so yeah, I've been very, very happy with this so far. I feel like everything's been fair. I'm sure it'll get to a point where I'm like, oh my god, like they definitely want me to pay. But as of now, been having a great time with it. There is a battle pass, surprise, surprise. So because that seems to be the route everybody goes to now. Battle pass this, battle pass that. But yeah, no, it's been an awesome time, and for a free game, I mean, it's good stuff. So I highly recommend it, whether you're a fan of Pokemon MOBAs or both. Or maybe you're just curious and you just want to jump in, and you never tried a MOBA before and you want to try it out for the first time. It's very accessible, very streamlined, very simple, and it definitely is a unique take on the.
Sounds like something I need to try. I should at least download it and try it.
Yeah. I'm going to give it a shot. I totally forgot that it came out this week.
Yep. I mean, this is one that I've been looking forward to for a while. So yeah, it's been an awesome time that it's been out. I've been having a great time with this. And then when the mobile version comes out in about a month, and this is the one thing I was worried about, because Cafe didn't do this and Shuffle didn't do this and just about everything else hasn't done this, but this one finally will do this, where you can have cross progression. So that way, if you don't have your Switch with you but you want to play around, log in on your phone, you're good to go. Pick up right where you left off, and then once you're back home or back within the vicinity of your Switch, again, pick up where you left off from there as well. So everything cross save, cross progression. It's great.
It's about time. I mean, there's
about time. I know. But yeah, in addition to that, another multiplayer game that I've been playing. This came out yesterday, maybe. It's called A Way to Be Dead. Now, this game is very similar to. It was actually sent to me by the dev, so I figured I would check it out. And it basically is very similar to Dead by Daylight, with maybe a hint of like deceit in it as well. Now, here's the problem with A Way to Be Dead. I think they took their name a little too literally, because the game is in fact dead. There was, when I logged in, there was, I'm not even joking, the most I saw was 6 people. Now when I queued up, it took me about closer to 45 minutes to join a lobby, and then oh yeah, and then when I did, somebody had disconnected within 2 minutes, and that ruined the entire game, and it was right back to the lobby. So
there's only like 22 reviews on Steam, and it's been out a day. It's an early access game as well.
It is an early access game, yeah. But I will say, if this game takes off, we'll see. But if it can get like a healthy player base, at least something that makes the game more playable rather than just sitting on the main menu and just waiting as you're queuing up, it could be an incredible amount of fun. I mean, it's a very straightforward version of the sort of Dead by Daylight formula. You have your killer, which is just one of them. His name is Dr. Riley, and going against the victims, which can be a maximum of 5. And yeah, you just run around this. There's just one map at the moment, I think, because I've just been playing the same map over and over again. It's like this hospital, but yeah, you just kind of you do that, and as you would at Dead by Daylight, you just kind of try to survive. But as you're surviving, you're looking for these keys that can unlock other doors to various parts of the hospital, and to get you either weapons, or if you're lucky enough, you might find the key to actually take you to the exit. And then you can just go. You don't have to do any stupid generator nonsense, and stuff like that. It's flipped too. Like, if I'm not mistaken, in Dead by Daylight, when you're the killer, you're in first person, and then when you're the survivor, you're in third person. Now this one's flipped. So when you're the survivor, you're in first person. When you're the killer, you're in third person. So you get more of a, view, more of a field of view when you're the killer. But this one's a little more balanced than Dead by Daylight, I would say, because you have multiple chances to be revived. Everybody has a maximum of 2 health kits, so they can revive everybody a maximum of twice. And there's another character named Nurse Gloria, I think, and she can revive people 3 times. So yeah, and now they have more characters. Like they have, but they're going to be added later down the line. They're not available at the moment. Like I noticed when I was going down the list, they had a policeman available. They had a janitor available. They had other types of zombies available because you can play the zombies that just kind of are trickled out throughout. But they move very slow. They're not very dangerous or scary. So, but the game so far is like it's really pretty. It's not not the best graphics, but for what it is, it's super well optimized. And considering it's a super small indie game, it runs really well, and the environmental detail is like really, really solid. So like even if you're just kind of taking in the sights, you have a lot to look at versus Dead by Daylight, where you're just kind of put in this sort of circular, randomly generated area.
There's not much to look at. You're like, the environment.
Yeah, it's just tall grass always, or just something to hide behind. That's really it. While you're looking for these generators, and with all due respect to Dead by Daylight, I actually like Dead by Daylight, but that I do wish they put a little more thought into into their maps. But this one, even though it's just one map at the moment, it's pretty big. And but even though I've lost every match that I've been in. But to be fair, I've also been kind of slowly but surely learning the controls, even though I've only been able to play 3 or 4 games, even though I've had the game up now for about 3 or 4 hours. Right, but yeah, it was sent to me. I'm writing a review at the moment, and then once I'm ready to go, once I can give it a proper review, it'll be up on the Gamers Lounge. But yeah, no, for what it's worth, if the game had the player base that it probably wants, and if it otherwise, I think the game would be really, really solid. I have no real complaints so far. Everything, animations are janky and stuff like that, but again, this is all typical early access stuff. But the game itself, in terms of how it plays, works well. It's fun. So it's
that's the most important part.
Yeah, you just need people to play it.
Yeah, that's just it.
And I think a big problem that games like this suffer from is you can't play against bots. Now I know bots would probably be weird as maybe the victims, but you can at least make the killer a bot, at least, just have your sort of generic AI of some, just make character attack player. That's it. That's it. So it's, and then run away if you need to. So, but yeah, there's no, again, as is with the case with this and many other games like this, there's no way to do bots, or there's no practice mode either. You just kind of have to play it and learn it as you go. And, that's hard to do when you can barely get a match started to begin with, Yeah. So, but yeah, but again, looking at the perspective of if the game was working as intended and had the player base it wants, it is a good time. It is a great time, actually. But yeah, it's got a long way to go. It's got a long way to go. So, but yeah. So yeah, I've been playing that. A Way to Be Dead. Speaking of games that are questionable, I know this game has gotten not the best representation over the last couple of months, but I'm here to give some positives. Okay, and that game is Balan Wonderland. This is Wonder World, rather. This is Square Enix's pride and joy of the year.
I've only seen it in videos, and it looked like, yes, it's very not good, at least the way it was being presented.
Yeah. So the Switch version. Now I've been playing it on Xbox. Now the Switch version, if anyone who's played the demo, now the demo was so bad they took it down. Okay, they took it, how bad it was. Because probably a lot of people were, and I saw a lot of people on Twitter say this too, were like, "Oh man, I was excited for this game, but now after playing that demo, oh my lord, I can't say that outright. They lost a lot of sales because of that demo, and it was just not good on Switch. But I've been playing on Xbox, and I will say, now if you're not familiar with Balan Wonderland and the whole sort of story behind it, it's oddly enough published by Square Enix, which is weird because this is a type of game that looks and plays almost exactly like it would be something from Sega. instead. And to be fair, the reason why that is because this is by Yuji Naka. This is the man that created Sonic the Hedgehog and Knights, So, and when you look at the character design,
yep, I see that. Yep.
And when you look at the character designs, they're almost identical. So, and it plays very similarly. Now, in this game's defense, the level design is awesome. I like the level design a lot, actually. They're very creative. They're very clever. They're very colorful. They're very pretty to look at. They're fun to go through, honestly. Now, where the game suffers is that it is overly simplistic. Let me put it this way. If you look at the button mapping, you're using the left stick, the right stick. Obviously, that's for movement and camera, right? Everything else that you're using, whether it is the A, B, X, Y buttons, all of those buttons, right bumper or right trigger or left bumper, those all make you jump. It's literally one action spread across every single button, basically. It's very
so can we do a challenge run where you have to hit all the buttons in order to jump? You can't just hit one, you have to hit at least 3. Challenge yourself. Hit as many buttons as you want.
It is overly simplistic. Now, you get a total, there's like over 80 costumes. There might be even more than that, I don't know. But there's a lot of costumes that you get from each chapter/level. And within these, basically, each costume kind of does their own thing. So let's just say one costume will give you a double jump. One costume will help you hover. Another costume will stretch you. It's kind of, if you remember, it kind of similar to Super Mario Odyssey. Whenever you threw your hat and like took over somebody, you got some sort of, unique ability that they would have, right? So just like that. The biggest difference is, of course, again, everything's one button, right? So the jump button becomes whatever button is tied to, or whatever action is tied to that particular outfit, right? But everything is still one button. So rather than jumping, let's just say if you turn yourself into a tornado, that is, of course, a button of your choice. So choose whichever button, and then you'll do that action. But yeah, there's costumes of all sorts of types. Now the problem is with so many costumes, a lot of them start to borrow from each other, and it's just like, why did you have this many costumes to begin with? Like, you just don't need this many costumes. Like at most, there's maybe really like 20 to 25 maybe unique costumes, and the rest are just kind of reskins, really. And but they always make it sound like whenever you collect a new one that you're doing something new, but it's like, I'm double jumping again, I'm catching fire again, I'm shooting a cannon again, I'm just doing this but with a different outfit. That's all that is.
For some strange reason, this is the 5th tornado I've been. What?
To correct you, this is a twister. That's why. That's a difference.
This one's a whirlwind. Come on.
One's a tornado, another one's a twister, another one's a hurricane, another one's just high-speed winds. I don't know. It's just all. Another one's a cyclone. It's all. But it all does the same thing. But there's like 5 different. Like in one of the chapters, maybe like the second or third chapter, like which is like mostly an underwater thing. Or not an underwater thing, but has a big emphasis on water. There's like 5 different fish costumes, and they all do the same thing. And I bet you can't guess what they do. So, and it's absurd. You just don't need as many costumes. And there are. Now I'm playing on an Xbox One X, right? So again, game when it runs beautifully, but there's random stutters that happen throughout. Like randomly the game will just like freeze for a second, and then like let's just say I'm mid jump, if it stutters, it'll freeze for a second, and then like all of a sudden I'll be on the ground. And it's just it does that no matter how many times I've restarted the console, restarted the game. It's just a problem with the game itself, because every time I play something else, that issue doesn't persist. But if I play this, this happens from level to level, and no matter when and where I play it, so it's really, really odd. But again, in this game's defense, I actually really like the levels. I like jumping in for 1 or 2 levels at a time. Now I do feel bad for anyone who spent $60 on this game when this game came out, like, because it's not a particularly...
it's $60. Okay, that was my next question, was how much it was.
Yeah, no, this was a full MSRP game when it came out. This game should have been at most 40, and even that's pushing it. And especially since it just feels so basic. Now I will say one of the biggest highlights of this game, without a doubt, is that the cutscenes are awesome, and I think this game would have been better off not being a game and being like maybe like an animated show instead, because the animation during the cutscenes are really really charming. And they're just great, and they're fun to watch. They're fun to look at and stuff like that. And the pre-rendered graphics are gorgeous. The regular graphics are okay. They're nothing special. They're about what you would expect from Yuji Naka's sort of history and stuff like that for what he's sort of designed in the past.
I like when you Google it. The underneath the thing it says people also ask, is Ballin World Wonder World really that bad? That's the first one. Is it really that bad?
I think everyone just started jumping on this sort of train of just like, well, everyone says it's bad, so yeah, I'll say the same thing too.
And then the first answer is, so yeah, it is really that bad.
Question asked, question answered. There you go.
That's my favorite thing on Google is to look and see. People also ask, and when the first thing is such and such really that bad? And then you click on it, yes, it really is that bad. It's like, oh, man.
I'm here to debunk that. It's not that. I honestly don't think it's the worst thing to come out this year. I honestly don't think that. It's not the best thing to come out this year. It's fun.
Yeah.
I would say it's probably the worst thing that's come out this year that's gotten like a high enough profile, because there's always going to be that trash that comes out that nobody knows about. But as far as just like people knowing about a thing that is bad, it's probably the quote worst that's come out this year.
I think when you put it through the perspective of like AAA companies, because this is technically a AAA game, it probably is up there.
That's why it deserves it. It's like if you're a AAA studio putting out something and it's like only getting to like 3s or 4s, 5s, whatever levels people review it.
36 on Metacritic.
Then that's worse than like a small team trying to put something out and it's super janky, but it's because 2 people made it. There's plenty of things out that like a few people make that are awesome. There's way more that it's like it's fine, but you only expect the bar so high for that versus like, hey, you have all these resources and you still only got this far. Like you could have done better, guys.
Yeah, like you got that Square Enix money, man. Like that's crazy. And then like, but then unfortunately, shortly after Balan Wonderworld came out, Yuji Naka ended up. There was rumors he got fired from Square Enix basically just because of the reception of. But like this game was unfortunately a curse for that guy, and it really makes you feel bad just because this guy has like huge credits. Huge credits. Like this dude basically brought Sega to where they are today before he left. So. Without him, no Sonic. Without him, no Knights. But there's a lot of and plenty of other things. But yeah, like it's just kind of unfortunate seeing the kind of the history of where it's gone, where it is now, and the perception of it. But honestly, really, I'll be honest with you. Out of all the games to come out this generation, I would still say Anthem is worse. I hated Anthem. I would honestly say Anthem is substantially worse than Balan Wonderworld. I'm honest. Like I'm being serious. So
I can agree with that.
That's a hard one, man.
I
would say I would prefer Anthem if only because I prefer what it looks like.
Yeah.
More
your style of game. I get that.
Maybe not how it plays or any of that other stuff, but just like how it looks like. Like, yeah, cool. I like how that game looks.
Yeah. But honestly, like, again, if and I got it on sale on Amazon, it was like $15, and I was like, you know what, man, for 15, because I was honestly waiting for like 10 and under, but I was like, 15 is close enough, whatever. I'll spend the 15. And honestly, like, I've been enjoying it. Not to mention, like, it's actually great when you play it in handheld mode, not on Switch, but like if you use the remote play feature on your phone, through the Xbox app, it's with the Razer Kishi that I've been playing on, like it feels and runs great. Like I didn't lag at all. It looked great. It felt right at home, on the handheld, and it was awesome streaming it. It was like there was like little to no lag. Also, it was a great experience that I had with it. So, it's a comfy, cozy game, man. It's again, it's far from great, but it's you know,
I look at it, it makes me think that they're aiming for something similar to what like a Kirby game would do, but it's just not even quite up to like that level that all the Kirby games usually are. But it's very much like aiming for that simple, young audience, so that you're not doing anything super intense as far as learning controls. You've got like simple controls, and then you like use that to like do some creative things. That's what it feels. What it looks like it's supposed to be.
Yeah, exactly. And if
just not as successful as Kirby.
Yeah, no, and I love Kirby. But honestly, but if anything, if you're gonna walk away from anything in this game, honestly, the level design is like legitimate. And if you took the levels from this, but just like replaced the rest of it with like maybe something a little more polished or with a little more thought put into it, like people would probably be praising this as like a great platformer, strictly because again the levels themselves, but because it's part of this entire package that just did not work. It's something that's easily dismissed. So. But yeah, been playing that. In addition to that, also been playing. It came out recently. Oculus Trip, Hellbound, and Debriefed. This one, if you're not familiar with Oculus Trip, it's
you're pronouncing it wrong.
If this one is an interesting one. It is. If you're not familiar with it, there was Undead and Undressed on the Vita. It was originally on the Vita, and then it came out on PS4, and then it came out on PC. But this one is actually not a sequel. It's not even a remaster of that. It's actually a remaster of the first one that came out on PSP probably back in 2011, so almost 10 years ago, well, 10 years ago. And but that one never got localized. So to celebrate the sort of, I think they were on the August 10th anniversary of it, and I just decided, hey, you know what? Let's go ahead and remaster it and localize it finally, so the West and basically everybody outside of Japan can enjoy it. The one on Vita, I really, really enjoyed. I had a great time with that. It was funny. It was, it was janky, but it was still like a good time. It was probably one of the more memorable experiences I've had on Vita. This one is fine. It's $50 for some reason, but it still looks like its PSP counterpart, despite it being a remaster. Honestly, the audio is sort of compressed and the resolution is still sort of low, which bothers me tremendously. It didn't feel like there was much thought put into this, which is a shame considering, number one, it's a remaster, but number two, this is the first time we're getting it localized ever, So, but it's fine. I'm not going to go too into it, but is it worth $50? No, absolutely not. I think this would have been better off as a double pack, kind of like what they did with Stranger of Sword City, where, that one also came with Savior of Sapphire Wings, which was also localized for the first time, part of that package. So if this was packaged that with Undead and Undressed, that was on Vita, then the $50 would be worth it. But otherwise, it's fine. You just go around stripping vampires and, until you get rid of all their clothes and then they burn in the sun. That's it. So it's a goofy concept, but it's a fun, good time. And if anything, this game feels like a time capsule just because you are going back to 2011, Akihabara, and just kind of really experiencing a not really a faithful recreation, but for what they could have done back then, on the PSP, something that is certainly recognizable, and sort of experiencing the streets of it. And of course, as you would like they do in Yakuza and other games that take a big influence from those sort of real places. You can go and check out, the arcades. They have a Sega arcade over there. You can check out the mini games in, but it's actually SECA. It's Sega instead of Sega. Yeah. So because we couldn't, licensing rights and all that. So, but yeah, everything's like immediately recognizable and very much feels like a time capsule to a time that once was, especially when you think of Akihabara from 10 years ago compared to now. It's still it's still that sort of otaku destination, but there's been enough that's been changed that it definitely still feels like two different Akihabaras. But yeah, if you're feeling nostalgic, it's fun for that. But is it worth $50? No, absolutely not. I expected a lot more. The combat's a little janky. The game's unpolished. It still looks like the PSP version. And honestly, with the way it plays, I think you probably would be better off getting the just playing it through emulation and a fan translation, because God knows that's been done for a while, and chances are you'll probably get better frames and a better resolution. So but it's fine for what it's worth. If you loved the one on Vita, chances are you kind of already know what you're getting into with this. It's enjoyable, but I still think the Undead and Undressed is vastly superior, and of course not including Akiba's Beat, which came out, but that one was a much different approach. That one wasn't so much stripping vampires as it was, a dungeon crawler that was more in the line of like, it played a lot more like Persona rather than anything, Akiba Strip did. So, but yeah. And in addition to that, the last two, just been playing two more. Have been playing, this game came out recently, and it had pretty decent reviews. It's called 30-Minute Nightmare. It's on Steam, and as you can imagine, it's 30 minutes long. And now I played it. I beat it in 22 minutes. So number one, false advertisement. And number two, got my money back. Number three, it's fine. It's fine. Honestly, like for what it did, it was a nice little bite-sized horror game. It wasn't doing anything special. The animations were weird. Like I wasn't sure like if I was actually like making contact when I was shooting some of the zombies and stuff like that. But honestly, like, credit where credit's due, wasn't bad. I mean, again, 30-Minute Nightmare, if you want a nice, quick, bite-sized horror game, check it out. It'll do the job. Definitely made me feel uneasy at times, but overall, it's okay. It's okay. It's cheap anyways. I think it's like $1.99 or $2.99. It's very cheap. But otherwise, if you don't get into it, you're not missing out on much. It is what you would expect from a 30-minute game like that, made by one, maybe two people at most. But you get what you pay for. Again, it's cheap, $2, and it was fine.
Yeah.
It was fun, but yeah. Lastly, we started playing this last night. My girlfriend and I, we started playing It Takes Two. I've been wanting to play this for quite some time now. This is the sort of follow-up to A Way Out, which was
playing it.
A Way Out was awesome, and but It Takes Two, just been having such an amazing time with it. Definitely a much different tone and gameplay compared to A Way Out. A Way Out was more, this one's cinematic also, but that one was much more like narrative driven and much more drama filled with sort of crazy action sequences and QTEs and stuff like that. This one feels it's more of like a platformer. Like you're playing two people playing a platformer at once, like a puzzle platformer. And it's kind of akin to like Unravel and stuff like that, but man, this game is gorgeous. Like the cutscenes are like beautiful. Again, I've been playing on the Xbox One X, not playing on the Series X, and I've seen the trailers for the Series X, and like, my God, it's I don't know if that game has ray tracing, but the shading is incredible. From what I've seen on the Series X, but it looks almost identical on the One X. Like, it looks and runs amazing. It is a clean 60 frames. There's no way it's not in 4K because it is a stunning, crisp looking game. And we were up until like maybe closer to 5 in the morning last night playing it. Like,
well, I went to bed at 4 and you guys were still up playing, so I'm just saying, I went to bed at 4:00 this morning and you guys were still playing.
It was, I'm telling you, it is a phenomenal time. It's a great game. Joseph Fares, I believe his name is, the director of A Way Out. He really outdid himself on this one. So if you love The Way Out, you're gonna love It Takes Two. Like, it's awesome. You can play it both in local co-op and of course online as well. You only need one copy. So long as one person has a copy, you can send out a friend pass to someone else. So both people don't need to own a copy, which is awesome also. So whether you're playing, local or online, so that's really, really great.
Now, is that on Game Pass? Is that?
No. It is on EA Play Pro, but that's only available on PC.
Okay, I knew it was an EA published game, but I couldn't remember if it was on Game Pass yet or not.
Yeah. So it's on Play Pro, but if you just have regular EA Play, you can't get it. But you can't get a Way Out though. So if you're interested in It Takes Two, but haven't played a Way Out yet, you can get that via Xbox Game Pass Ultimate since EA Play is part of that now. So. But yeah, It Takes Two is still very much a premium game. So, but if you have Play Pro on PC, absolutely check it out. I mean, yeah, it's definitely one of the better things EA has put out in quite some time, and it's just such a great time. The game's charming. It's beautiful. It's tons of fun. The checkpoint system's great. It seems like every time you go into a new level, there's a new gameplay mechanic, and it's always so well done. Like, they really nailed down like every single sort of like theme from what we've played so far, and just implement so many different types of mechanics and stuff like that, and do it intuitively, and keep things consistently fun too. It's just such a great balance of both gameplay and cinematics as well. So I can't recommend this game enough. It Takes Two, like. Check it out, please. It's great. It's amazing. It's deserving of all the awards that it's won and all the great reviews. I think it's got a lot of 9s and 9.5s, if I'm not mistaken. So, check it out. Absolutely check it out. But yeah, that covers everything.
Cool. Eric, what have you been playing? You haven't been around in a while, so
my turn. All right, so we're talking about stuff we kind of watching earlier because it's summer and you got a lot of time. I have been watching Big Bang. Yeah. I stopped watching it several years ago.
It's all right. We watched it every week. We enjoyed it. I mean, it's fine. I know a lot of people don't like it. It's fine. I mean, it's.
I finished Bad Batch. I really enjoyed that. I need to go back and finish Clone.
Yeah.
I've been watching Twin Peaks. I know you guys watched that back in the day.
Twin Peaks is great.
On season 2. I'm gonna try to stick with it and finish it. It's a very interesting show. I can imagine that show at the time when it came out in the early 90s. That was the one where you raced to your TV to see what the next episode would be.
Oh, I remember watching it when it was first out, and it was just like, what am I watching? It was so weird, and you didn't understand it, but you couldn't look. It was like a train wreck. You just couldn't look away from it, and you had to know what was going to happen next. It was just so weird for the time.
Yeah, so unique.
Yeah.
That's what's interesting. All right, so I've been playing some stuff. Let's start with a couple things. I went to an arcade yesterday, a couple hours north of me. It was mostly retro pinball stuff, so mostly stuff from the 80s and 90s. Played some pinball. Played some. I'd never seen the arcade version of Ghost Squad. That was pretty cool.
Oh yeah, that's
with the rifles and have feedback. I played the Alien Shooter. It's a Mortal Kombat 4. The choice of fighting games are pretty bad. There's at least 2 Street Fighter 2 cabinets, Mortal Kombat 4 Gold, Virtual On, where one of the sticks didn't work.
Oh, that's
so wasn't great. There was no Neo Geo stuff. I was hoping there'd be. I think there was Marvel Superhero. There was a mix of stuff, mostly stuff from lots of stuff from like the early 90s and late 80s. It's cool classic pinball. There's a neat little arcade. It's called the Jedi Alliance. $12 for play all you want.
That's not
and
bad.
They actually have some pinball machines that are newer that they're like on loan, so you have to pay to play those. But everything else you can pay. So they had like Star Trek, and I saw Terminator 2.
Mm-hmm.
Tons of stuff in the 90s for pinball. Pretty good.
That's
good
cool.
machine. That's a good use of a couple hours.
Yeah.
But let's see. I've been playing some other cool stuff. I played some more of the Takedown on the Switch because I was trying to decide if I wanted to buy Limited Run's physical copy of that. I'm still kind of on the fence. I think that pre-order ends tomorrow. I don't know. It's an okay game. It seems to be. It doesn't have the appeal that like Streets of Rage. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's the nostalgia of the Streets of Rage series. I mean, Takedown's it's a fine game. Like something weird with maybe the way the 3D backgrounds are set up in the characters. So, if you like brawlers, it's still pretty.
Yeah.
Playing a little bit more Cold War, but we always talk about that, so I'll skip over that. I played the System Shock demo, the remake. Anybody? Nathaniel, System Shock fan?
I do like System Shock. I haven't played this though.
It's pretty good, man. It's I barely remember playing the first game back in the day, and I do remember playing the second.
I mostly I've played the first System Shock, but I mostly remember System Shock 2 because that's the classic one.
Yeah, that's the one everybody seems to really like. It's creepy. You've done a good job. Definitely scary in space. Lots of cool stuff. I won't spoil it for you. I have been playing. How about the Wasteland series? Anybody played? I know we've talked about Wasteland 3, but has anybody played Wasteland 2?
I think I've played a bit of Wasteland 2. I definitely have it because it's something I got in like a
it was one of the
Humble Bundle or something at some point.
Yeah, it was one of the very first Kickstarters I had back. It is from the studio that made it is formerly Interplay guys. Guys made the original like Fallout 1 and 2, involved in
and it's very much that kind of a game.
Yep,
it is. What I remember.
Tactical post-apocalyptic strategy game, RPG, tactical RPG. It's pretty good. It moves along pretty quickly. Actually, I was pleasantly surprised. They make it so it plays a lot like Wasteland. Pretty easy just to move along the map and with your party, and the quests are kind of interesting. And it's not a little. It's mostly there's not really like a good or a bad alignment. I've noticed it's more of just like picking a decision, either like help a settlement grow or just move on. Pretty much. Play this group of rangers, and your job is to kind of like help people. It's interesting. There's lots of different NPCs you can the writing is some of the dialogue is a little bit, and this is the director's cut. I don't know, like I don't know. Sometimes things they say in conversation like makes sense or something missing there, but besides that, it does play well. The combat's good. It's quick. It's very quick turn-based stuff, so it moves along. I think I'm like 15 or 16 hours in. I had to restart because I screwed up. Third of the way through the game, I got stuck. I couldn't get past this part. I was looking online. I was like, kind of built the wrong party. Handle this piece of the game. So, okay, back to the drawing board. Throw away all my time.
Hate it when that happens.
Oh yeah, I'll definitely finish it, and then I will try to go play Wasteland 3 or try to tackle some.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
Pass. I think I've got 3 downloaded to the Xbox.
Yeah, I have no idea why I started 2. I was looking for something to play a couple weekends ago, and it was sitting there, and I already downloaded on my Steam library. I'm like, all right, might as well try it. It works great with the controller too, by the way.
Oh, cool.
And that is it. Doing that.
Sweet.
Rocking along.
Yep. All right, cool. Well, let's get into some news. There's not 2 tons to talk about. We'll start with the first one, the one everybody's been talking about, the Activision-Blizzard sued by California for sexual harassment and everything else. It's gnarly, some of this stuff that has come out. If anybody has the stomach for it, I say look through the official releases. About page 15 is when things and names start getting dropped, and
they get crazy.
I mean, it's serious stuff. And like I said before, or during pre-show, it was like, I hoped when I saw the headline, I was like, okay, please be more Activision. Please be don't be Blizzard. Be Activision. Be Activision. Be Activision. Oh, it's Blizzard, and it's more Blizzard than Activision.
Both.
Yeah.
Well, it usually is Activision too. This sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But there was definitely some Blizzard, etiquette issues here listed. So,
and of all the companies that you didn't want to hear about it, Blizzard was the one that you hoped that it didn't. But at this point, it's happening everywhere. I mean,
with Blizzard though, it's not that. I mean, surprising is not the way I would put it, but like, there's been a bunch of just like controversial stuff that Blizzard's been sticking their toes into the wrong thing, like getting caught doing stupid stuff or just having bad responses to certain things for the past like several years at the very least. So putting this on top of it is like, okay, well, if this is the actual culture that is there behind closed doors that we didn't know about, that results in some of these other like more public controversies they've had. It was like, okay, that the whole picture is starting to come into view of like, okay, that makes sense why this other thing happened, because this is how they are behind closed doors. Yeah.
I mean,
it's none of it good.
It was, and some of it was just weird stuff, like women not getting paid the same as men that did the same job, and upper management telling them, hey, you know, it's a privilege to work for Blizzard, and you know, you're going to make less money, and you know, you should just be happy that you're working for us. You know, it's an
no
honor.
place has that status. I
No.
don't care who you are. It's not a privilege to work somewhere, or like you could feel that way, but you still have to compensate your employees properly. Come on.
Yeah. And you know, see, what was one of the other ones that was not getting into, you know, graphic stuff. I can't remember. You know, one woman came and emailed Mike Morhaime directly about, you know, harassment and stuff like that, and HR intercepted it and didn't show it to him, and you know, threatened her with her job because she went over HR's head. So you know, HR was getting these complaints and just sticking them under,
throwing them away.
Yeah, you know, just, and it's like,
put them in that box.
You know,
when you had mentioned one about the, you know, the work and the pay, one of the ones that struck out to me was there was two people in particular in the marketing firm where one lady basically did double the work. Like, just to say for the sake of easy math, like, you know, guy A did 50 marketing campaigns that year and she did 100, so she did double the work. But not only that, but all of her marketing campaigns generated significantly more revenue than his did. And when it was time for a promotion, for some reason he got the promotion, even though she's the one that's had like exceptional sort of ratings and reviews time and time again over the course of the last couple of years. And that dude was like mediocre at best. So I was like, that none of that adds up. Why do that? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and you know, and you like to, you know, and you think, well, it's the new CEO, the new this. No, this investigation started at the end of Morheime's, you know, of time there, and this was all before, you know, before he even left. So, and you know, and he made a statement saying, hey, you know, I messed up. You know, I knew these things. We didn't handle it well. We didn't. It was like, yeah, you didn't. And now,
you didn't handle it at all.
Or you didn't handle it at all. Yeah. And now that you,
that would imply that there was some sort of attempt. You know?
And now you've went and saying you're making a new company. So is that company that you're starting now, is that going to have the same, you know, same thing? Are you just taking it somewhere else, or are you actually going to change? You know,
if I was someone at that new company, I'd be very wary at this point, right? Or if you're being recruited by them, it'd be like, maybe don't go there yet.
I mean, you know, it's like, it's, you know, you just don't know. It's happening. You know, if you don't think that it's happening, you know, where it happens all the time.
Well, I mean, just like all the stuff from, or you know, not that long ago, coming out about Ubisoft as well. It's not just here. And it's not just the gaming industry either.
It's everywhere. And you know, and I know a lot of times, you know, CEOs. Well, I had no idea. And yeah, there's been some. I could see it in some cases, but for the amount of time that this has went on and things like that, it's got to be, you know, it had to have been known, and it had to have been known, you know, by everybody for a long time, and it just allowed it to happen. And you know, it's sad, and now it's like, you know, the floodgates have opened, you know, at Blizzard, and I follow a lot of those, you know, people, the PR people and things like that on Twitter, and it's just been like, yeah, now we can finally come out and we can finally say, hey, this is what's been going on. That's what's been going on. You know, this is, you know, and it's just, it's sad. It's really
bad enough when you have like a story come out of like one incident at a company somewhere of like this person was treated the way they shouldn't have been in, you know, varying degrees. It always sucks, but when it's this pervasive throughout the whole thing, it's just infinitely worse.
Yeah, it is. And you know, and it's on the side of two companies. You know, there's been you know, there's been you know, ruse about suicide, you know, people coming out, you know, that, oh well, she committed suicide because of this, and you know, and stuff like that. And it's just like, It's unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. I don't know. It's
just a really, really crappy situation.
It is. It's a crappy situation, and I just it's the more I've seen things come up today, the more depressed,
Seems like a situation that's big enough that required something outside like this to happen in order to because there's too many just bad people in the top positions and perpetrating all this different cultural of just terribleness that people inside it just had nowhere really to go to make it better other than just leave, which that's a sucky position to be in. So it's just no bueno.
Yeah.
All around.
Yeah, it's not cool. It's not cool.
Way worse than not cool.
Yeah, I mean,
that's severely understating it.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, but I don't know.
It's terrible.
Yeah,
but there's what can you say about it too? It's just well, there's not a whole lot you can do other than just be yeah, that sucks. I'm outside of it. It's terrible. It should be condemned. There you go. You can't really, unless you just want to go into the nitty gritty details of this is what happened. Meh.
Yeah, and
can't say much more about it.
No, you can't, and it makes me wonder who's next. Who are we going to hear next?
It'll be somebody.
Yeah.
It's
unfortunately it feels especially with just the gaming industry, you see it with just all the stupid. Fan side, it just perpetrates some of it. So it also being in company sides, and there's all sorts of rumors and things that come out for things that this is just an example of hey, these rumors are true. We're blew the lid off of all of this here coming out, and it's maybe even worse than you thought. There's always seems to be some sort of controversy coming out at some point every not even just every year, more sooner than that. So I know it'll be too long before. And the sad thing is, whenever there's a new one, it seems like the last one gets almost forgotten about by people, and it's just
yeah,
not good.
And I've seen a lot of independent media outlets. Well, we're not reporting on any more Activision-Blizzard or Ubisoft stuff until they clean themselves up and. You don't want to promote a company and give them money and this and that and that and this, but at the same time, there are people that are working there that are, working hard. They're not being harassed. They're not,
Well, a lot of this tends to come from the higher ups too, and that's the thing is you only have so much power when the people that are literally running the company can fire you like that. So.
I mean, some of it, but it definitely goes all the way down through as far as just behavior goes. If you're reporting on it, don't the big sites like IGN or something. Don't stop talking about Activision-Blizzard games, but maybe just I don't know, just start off every single article about one of their games with Activision-Blizzard, the company currently being sued for all this. Just bring it up every time so that it doesn't get forgotten about it. That would be better than just not talking about it at all.
Yeah, and that's one of the things. It's been everything with me this weekend not to go, oh well, there's a bunch of people that are banding together. We're not going to talk about this and that and that and this and that and this. And I hope more come. No, you don't want. You want to keep talking. This needs to be. In the forefront.
That just helps stuff like this happen later on somewhere else because if everybody didn't talk about it, it's just swept under the rug and nobody knows about it. It's more bring it to light so that it doesn't happen again. Is what you would hope. Now the world isn't that perfect that would actually happen, but you still got to try.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not that I still. I don't play WoW anymore. I don't, or anything like that. But this changes. This changes a lot. Than the next time when a game comes out, it's will I give them $60? If they've genuinely come out and said, "Hey, we've taken care of this. We're doing this. We're doing this. We're actively doing that." Okay, but until then, And I hate
We
that.
fired everyone at the top. We got rid of the entire HR department. Like, just took the whole department in the building, blew it up, rebuilt it, and put new people in it.
I mean,
it's like even the environment of the actual building was bad and had just bad vibes. We just got rid of the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, like PR people, they that work for Blizzard, they've just left, and I say they haven't quit. They're not going in. People are not going into work. They're one of the producers, senior directors of WoW said that all work on World of Warcraft has now stopped because people they can't cope with this. That's that they're just finding out about it.
They shouldn't have to.
Yeah.
How massive, like it's hard not to think of Blizzard and not think of Warcraft, so that's like huge.
Yeah. And I mean, that was just like 20 minutes ago. The senior director came out and said, I can tell you right now, we have halted all work on World of Warcraft right now.
That happened just 20 minutes ago, like while we were doing this?
Yeah. Yeah. He came out and said that. He's like, yeah, I mean, it was like, yeah, it's just we've stopped work because people don't want to work. They want to go and figure this out. And
that's crazy. Like that's a statement for Warcraft of all things too. Like it'd be one thing if it was like, hey, we're stopping, we're not going to do the new grid that EA announced, but this is Warcraft.
And I mean, and they're in the middle of, Warcraft people are upset about the latest patch, and they're losing subscribers, and and for them to be actively go, well, we're not, and it's not like the company told them not to do it. They're just not doing it. And nobody is, and nobody is going to stop them. It's like, I'm afraid this is just going to, what's going to happen is this is just going to implode in the end. It's going to take years because this litigation thing is going to go for a while.
Oh, stuff like this always takes a while. I mean, no different from CD Projekt Red is going to take a while to recover from the whole Cyberpunk 2077 thing. So
there's been some sexual stuff, harassment stuff coming up from them too.
And from them too?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I mean, so, I mean... but like I think the Blizzard Activision thing, I think at some point Blizzard's just going to go away. It's just going to be absorbed, and it's just going to be Activision, and
they've been trying to do that for some time too.
Well, I think this is going to be it because now they're going to be like, we get rid of this guy, we've got to get rid of this guy, we've got to get rid of this guy.
They're not going to get rid of Blizzard as a brand name though, because Blizzard as a name is fun. But and
then what's going to happen with BlizzCon? It's not active.
I guarantee there's no BlizzCon this year. I guarantee it.
Yeah. This just feels like the big explosion that's happened after several other explosions at a power plant, and then finally the whole thing is kind of blowing up because there's been stuff from Blizzard and things for thing here, thing there, thing here,
especially with the whole Hong Kong situation. That was a big thing.
Yeah, I mean it's gotten to the point where it's like, as much as I hate to, I may have to mute the word Blizzard Activision on Twitter because it's just. I'm bombarded with it, and it's every time.
And then you miss next winter. You miss the news about some big blizzard coming in because you muted it. Like, no.
Yeah, it's
why do I get my weather from Twitter? That was a dumb idea.
It's just looking through Twitter, and it's just like, oh my gosh! And I didn't realize I followed so many people on the Blizzard teams. It's like, and it's just like every one of them just. It's like, it's just depressing. So, good will come out of this eventually, but right now it's just.
Well, that's all you can hope. Is like, okay, something like this leads to changing the situation and it becoming better in the future is what you hope, rather than just like, okay, this destroys the company. You don't necessarily want that either, but
no,
we'll just have to wait and see how it develops.
Yep. Valve announced Stream Deck, a portable
Steam Deck.
Steam Deck.
No hard. No hard. Just Steam Deck.
Yeah, I know. It's hard because Elgato's Stream Deck. It's like, I have one setting right here next to me. It says Stream Deck. So it's very hard when you're saying it. And I feel sorry for New Zealanders because they will say Stream Deck. But, that's just because.
Well, not to mention, it used to be called Steam Pal, and I think that name's cute. I like that name, Steam Pal. Yeah, my little Steam Pal.
That's absolutely the wrong name for that product.
Yeah, I know. I don't know.
It's like a pen pal, but it's for Steam. It's great.
Oh no,
I don't know, but so did we all put $5 down on it?
Yeah,
I did not.
Yes.
You did
No.
not. Okay.
I looking back though, I bought the cheapest one, and the last week or so, I was like, I should have put down $5 on the middle one.
Just wait for everybody to show you the guide. Like, of course, Valve was telling you not to, but hey, it just has an M.2 slot, so if you know how to get into it, you could probably replace it.
Yeah, and
have better storage.
I've read some people say, "Oh, it's very complicated." I doubt it's that complicated. It's got to be right there on the back. It's just take the back off, pop it in, and put it back on.
The worst would be if there's some sort of specifications that you can only use certain ones, and then it will run well or not. But there's plenty of people out there who are going to tear this hardware apart and figure that out soon enough. So if you just wait a little bit, you can probably do it.
I went ahead and put $5 down on just the small one. If anything, it's going to be if I do decide to get it. It's just going to be an indie machine.
It'll be your Steam pal.
Yeah, it'll be games. It'll be indie games that I can't play on Switch or Xbox or anything like that. I don't see myself playing Control on it. I don't see myself, playing Jedi Fallen Order. I might try it just to go, hey, look, that looks really cool. Yeah. But it's going to be, I've got tons of these little indie games on Steam that I really want to play, like my Traveler's Wrath.
Now, here's the thing. This is why I did not pre-order it, is because it's running on their Linux Steam OS or whatever, and there's only so many games that are actually compatible with that. Yeah. I mean, there's still it's still quite a large amount, but especially if you're wanting to just play all these small indie ones, not all of them are going to work on that, at least to start with. So that's why I was like, I'll just wait for it to actually come out, people get it in hands, and figure out then if I actually, because I also was like, I only use my Switch so much, so I don't know how much I would actually use it. So I was just, I'll wait.
My understanding is there's some kind of underpinning that, because those are like Jedi Fallen Order and stuff, those are Windows games that are running on that. There's some kind of underpinning that between the Linux and the OS that allows them to run. Well,
I mean, this OS isn't new. It's a new version of an OS. Like the Steam OS thing has existed in the past before. But yeah, it's one of those things that it's been around long enough. There's plenty of compatibility. It's just not everything. So it's going to depend on what you want to play.
Well, and that's
certain kinds of games won't work on there or what have you. So that's why I'm going to wait and see, because it's a cool idea. I just don't know how much I'd use it, so I'm not going to spend the money on it yet.
Well, and the other thing is, if I want to put Windows on it, I can put Windows on it. If I want to, and run the Epic Game Launcher and run Epic Games on from there.
Microsoft.
If anything, if I do get this, if anything, this is going to be a great handheld to not only play games in my Steam library that I want to play on the go, but it will make a great xCloud streaming console as well, because I will be able to do that, and it would not surprise me if Microsoft doesn't make a app for Steam for xCloud at this point.
Yeah, I found it very interesting that this also has a 720p screen on it, because Valve, if anybody was gonna put something nicer on it, they would have. Because I could see why Nintendo wouldn't, up that on whatever thing they put out. But Valve is we're gonna put out our big VR system hardware that's $1,000 for all the pieces. We're going to put out a handheld PC. Why not have a version with a super cool screen on it? Yeah. I'm sure there's some reason why, but I probably just, for optimization for a device that's that size, you're not going to be able to run at 1080 as well. So that's probably why they didn't do it.
Well, and one of the things they said too is other companies are going to make this. So make a device like this.
I hear it from that. I'm like, hey, remember the Steam box when maybe 2 or 3 companies made it and then it went away?
Yeah. So you might see some company come in and say, hey, we're going to make one with a 10-inch or a 7-inch OLED 1080p screen, and it'll last 20 minutes.
I get it from Valve's perspective. I think it's a terrible idea, because then you just how does consumers know which ones to get and what it's going to do? You have to do a lot more research. It's not hey, I'm going to go buy a Switch, and it's a Switch. Right. All Switches are the same. I know what I'm getting. With this one, it would be well, let's see. The one made by this company does this, but the one made by that company does that. And then, oh man, I heard that company one was it was burning up and the batteries were dying on it. And it just makes it all more confusing for anybody to know which one they'd want to buy.
Well, and I think that's why they kind of just went. There's not really a big difference in any of the other 3 models, other than the hard drive. Other than the storage.
Storage, yeah.
So that makes it kind of easy. From a layman, whatever you want to call it, a non-PC person. I don't know, but it's interesting. I probably will not end up getting it, but it's like I put $5 down on it anyway. Mine's not shipping till Q1 of 2022 anyway, so because it took me so long to get one. So I've got plenty of time to decide.
It looks cool. It looks like it'll be a cool piece of tech. I'll be interested to see what happens when it actually comes out and people get their hands on it and be like, I'll be watching all the Digital Foundry videos and stuff on it, I'm sure. But it just wasn't enough for me to go like, yes, I want to buy this and spend that much money on a thing that I don't think I would use that often. So I was just like, well, wait, it looks cool, but not for me. Yeah. At least right now.
Yeah. And like I said, $5, shoot. Worst case, I'll buy a game because it'll go right back on my Steam account. So,
yeah,
$5.
You're not gonna if you can do that, that's fine. Yeah, $5 isn't bad for reserving a pre-order.
Yeah, no, and then that way down the road, if as it gets closer, if I decide to, we're planning a Disney trip in January, so it's like, am I going to have $400 to spend on a system? Probably not, because we're going to Disney in January, so
I was like, you haven't even waited a year for that, then?
Nope.
You're like, nope, we gotta go back. Gotta go now.
Well, and this time we've decided we're going to go for a couple days. We're going to stay at the resort. So we're going to do more. The first.
Are you gonna get your custom saber?
Well, if I can get in, that was that I would have got it the last time I was there, but they were so limited on reservations that by the time reservations were sold out before I was able to get tickets. So, by that time, but hopefully I have to only make it 3 months in advance. So
don't forget this time, John, that you can have somebody take your bags to the car.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, see, now we won't even have to do that because we'll be at the resort, so they can just take it to the hotel room and drop it off.
Oh, see?
So, I won't even have to go. I won't have a car because they'll shuttle me from the airport to the hotel and then shuttle me from the hotel to the thing. So, so it's
perfect.
Yeah, we're going to try to do it up this time. So. The first time we went, it was just kind of like, hey, it's spur of the moment. Hey, guess what? Tickets went on sale again. Let's go. Okay. So now we know what to expect. So now we're going to do a little more. But the Battlefield Portal mode was announced for Battlefield 2042. They also announced Dead Space. I did not put that in here, but they also are remaking Dead Space as well.
Dead Space is pretty much just, it was like leaked before. That would have been a cool end thing. But it's pretty much just a little teaser of, hey, we're making it. They even said that they haven't made that much progress on it. But
so this
what's the studio that's doing No, it's not Fortnite.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure.
Okay.
Nobody building stacks of platforms and running around doing whatever the heck else they do in Fortnite. But it is a way to do a bunch of crazy game modes to a point. I've watched some interviews of the actual developers for this as well after the announcement of what'll be possible. But it's kind of almost, I don't know, it's a hard way to describe it, but what it is you have at launch anyway 2 maps from Battlefield 1942, 2 maps from Bad Company 2, and 2 maps from Battlefield 3 available in this mode, plus whatever, I think 7 that are 2042 new maps that you can use as a base to do all sorts of different game modes in different ways. So you can do anything simple of just go in there and do some of the pre-built ones that they have, but they have a logic system that you can go dive in and do all this crazy stuff. So you can set up a lot of it, at least the way they're selling it, seems to be setting up what if scenarios of what if you had 20 EOD bots versus 1 tank, or what if you had 50 World War II people versus 1 squad of modern people.
I saw knives. I saw knives
versus defibs.
Yeah.
See, what this really is a way to officially do a lot of the crap that the community in Battlefield has done for a long time, just on their own servers and stuff. But there wasn't really a great way to do it there. Like, it was still a little bit janky on how you set it up, or even to the point of just like, hey guys, we're all going to agree to just do knives versus defibs or whatever. You'd have to do it on the honor system, whereas this sets it up where you can make it as a thing. And because of it being kind of in the cloud or whatever virtual servers, however they're doing it, you put in a thing and it'll spin it up, and then if someone's on, you play it, and then as soon as everybody's gone, it'll go away, kind of a thing. But you can also save those settings so you can go do it again. So I see it'll be a way to do like a bunch of different things with like communities setting up servers with kind of like old school rules from older Battlefield games, or just like doing weird crazy game modes or whatever. Like, it's very much here's a sandbox thing of all this stuff that the community has wanted for a long time. You can do crazy things with it. You can set up some of the stuff that you've had in like Battlefield games before, kind of like hardcore mode where all the HUD's disabled and things like that. If you want to go more like this quote serious way with it, you have all of these like classes and most of like the guns and vehicles and things from all these games that the maps are from. You also have those. You can do some tweaks to their balancing so that they balance well with the new stuff, or you can do kind of like the old balancing so that it feels more like when that game came out. But even just the base layer of, look, here are these remade maps from these old games, that alone is really super cool about this mode, even without anything else. Like, I was watching a video where someone actually took the time to go download all the old games and find the specific angles of shots that were in like the trailer for this.
Oh, geez.
And it's especially I mean, of course, you just like know that because 1942 came out so long ago that one's going to look insanely different. But even just the one for Battlefield 3, which is the most recent of the old maps or whatever, you go on Caspian Border and it's like, here's what it looked like, here's what it was from the trailer, and just like the lighting is insanely better. There's so much more detail in like the trees with just more fidelity in all the leaves and the rocks and stuff everywhere. And it looks like with 2042, they're probably using photogrammetry, so there's just all that nice detail in there that you're like, yeah, Battlefield 3 still doesn't look bad, but you go flip between the two, you're like, oh wow, that's nuts. So yeah, I mean, just on top of everything they've already shown of just like the base, this is what 2042 is with just like the normal game. Here's this cool, crazy sandbox mode the community can have and just like do crazy stuff. With it within reason. Like, they've already said, you can't like make a battle royale mode or something. It doesn't have all the settings and stuff in there. But the fun thing about it is also the potential of it. They're going to be working on it over time. So because of the way EA's studios are set up, this is what used to be Dice LA. I forget the new name, but like that studio is working specifically on this mode. And because of just what it is, they could throw in all sorts of just crazy stuff in there, like pull in maps from other games, pull in all these other like vehicles, do all these different things. And they're saying that they're going to listen, try and listen to the community and say, hey, what do you guys want? And then they'll try and put it in, things like that over time. So, I mean, but even then, just like having 13 total maps in 2042 at launch to play on in various modes, that's pretty good. And then they haven't even said anything about the other mode yet. I forget the name, like Hazard Zone or whatever it is, which there's rumors about what that will actually kind of be. So there's rumors now, whether they're true or not, that people are thinking it'll be kind of like a Tarkov or something like that, but we'll see when they actually announce what that is. So that's a whole other mode that's in 2042 they haven't even really talked about yet. So like each time that they kind of reveal a little bit more, it's like, ooh, okay, I'm getting a little bit more excited, but I gotta like try and temper my expectations, because it's like, Battlefield doesn't always launch well. So hopefully they do this time, but they've had a couple games that launched decently, and then they've had a couple games that the launch was just garbage. So hopefully, it seems almost like they've had plenty of time this time around to get everything kind of all their ducks in a row, basically, of like, here's what the game is. Whereas a couple of the other previous games, it feels like, okay, EA's like, put it out now. We need it out. So I'm hoping that this time is like they had enough time to get it. So now it'll be, smooth launch and everybody will be happy about it and having fun with it.
Yeah, I hope
I think it's September is when they're supposed to do like the open beta / this is a demo.
Okay. Yeah,
I believe it's September is what they said for that. So I'll probably be downloading that whenever that happens.
Cool.
But yeah, I'm excited. Like, hopefully, and if it's really good, I'll probably end up getting on multiple platforms since they have the cross progression and cross save, all that stuff in there.
Absolutely.
Just because Battlefield is kind of the one big multiplayer franchise I actually still kind of care about. So, I didn't play the last one. I guess one technically, because I played Battlefield 1. I didn't play Battlefield 5.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Cool. Dennis, I guess you put this next story in here. I'll let you talk about it because I don't know anything about it.
So I read it and then I immediately thought how I wanted to talk about it here just because I know we're all Yakuza fans and we've all dabbled in Judgment and stuff like that. And
some of you have. I've played one Yakuza game.
Yeah, but
technically two. I finished one Yakuza game.
At least you have that sort of familiarity. And we're all familiar with Sega as well. I just thought this whole thing was just so absurd because I know we've talked about for a while where most recently Judgment got a next gen upgrade on Xbox Series X.
Right.
Now it did not come to the original Xbox One platform, even though the original was on PS4. But one of the even bigger questions is that Sega's been pretty good lately with their PC ports, in particular with Yakuza. Now the entire thing the entire franchise is completely playable on PC, with Yakuza Like a Dragon now having released launch day globally on PC as well as consoles, including Xbox. Now, Judgment is that weird one where it's not on PC. And Lost Judgment also is not coming to PC. Now, a big problem they're having there is that Lost Judgment in particular now is rumored to potentially be the last one in the series, even though they probably planned, I think I remember the director talking about how he planned, this was going to be another long-running series, much like Yakuza, but kind of doing the more detective aspects of things. Now, the reason for this being is because Sega is having a lot of tension with the agency where they kind of get all their actors and stuff, because they are using the likeness of a lot of real actors. They're not designing these characters from hand. Like, basically who you see on screen, a lot of them are, in Judgment in particular, are real people. And mainly like the main character. And then when the first one came out, there's a big thing about right before the game came out, because the game had been out in Japan for a couple of months before it came out in the West. Now they had before the game came out West, matter of fact, I think they actually delayed it by a month because they ended up patching out one of the original characters, because he got caught in Japan basically on charges of basically just smuggling a bunch of cocaine or something like that. I don't know.
It was something, I don't remember what it was, but it was something like that. It was drugs or something.
Yeah, something hardcore, like drug related too. Like, it was not a small felony. Like, it was a big time thing. Like, that man's going to prison, like, long time. And they have a thing in Japan where they don't really like to associate themselves with anything drug related. It's kind of similar how Hollywood here is like, the moment someone gets hit with some sort of harassment charge, it's like, case in point, when was the last time we saw Kevin Spacey? Kind of the same thing in Japan, but with drugs. So so it's so they patched him out with somebody completely new in the first Judgment, and they ended up
he tested positive for cocaine. That's what it was.
Oh, that was it. I could have sworn he
was arrested for suspicion of drug use. Was what it was.
Okay, gotcha. But yeah, no, Japan does not play around with that stuff. So and they sever all ties immediately. So, so basically, and and not that this is to that degree, but basically, there's just a big thing here about not wanting to abuse the likeness of some of the characters, and one of the reasons why they don't put it on PC is because they're afraid of modding and things like that of the likeness, and it's just the whole thing is just so stupid to me, honestly.
It reminds me of some of the stuff in the past, the reasons of we don't put it on PC because it's going to get pirated there.
Yeah.
That's
a bad reason.
And
this one at least kind of revolves around, okay, there's some real people, their likeness is in the game, but so you could say the same thing about like video content where, movie comes out and then people come out and like do some, stuff and put it on YouTube where like, oh no, we like replaced their face and did something dumb with it, like the same thing, like I don't know. It seems like a dumb reason to hold a thing out because someone might mod it and make something dumb looking for these people. Like I don't know.
And that's what I don't understand why they even did that. Well, why did they go with basing the characters' looks off of the real people? They didn't do that.
Also, have you seen the costumes in Yakuza and all the weird like dumb skins you can just do anyway with the different outfits?
Yeah.
Like, come on.
I understand having guest characters. Like in Yakuza 6, they had Beat Takeshi, which was amazing.
I get guest characters, but over there you get into all this nonsense with stuff like that, and it's like, why do you even do it? It's almost like music royalties with games. It's the same thing.
Yeah,
why even go that way? Because then down the road, if you want to release it on this or re-release it on that, you got to go get those rights.
Yeah, well, that's a great point because thinking about one of the reasons why Crisis Core never got ported is because strictly because of a song that's in the credits. It's not even in the main game. They could just easily mute the credits, get rid of it, whatever. But because it's there, they won't port Crisis Core at all from PSP.
Well,
that's it.
Look at Crazy Taxi. Crazy Taxi saying
they won't.
Yeah, they took out all the music though, right?
Yeah, they took out all the music, and then everybody went, meh, and it sold like crap. Because it just didn't feel the same. It's like, I don't know.
I don't get why it's not part of like the contract with the agency or whoever's the actor of like, you're going through an agency, your likeness may be used in here and whatever, that is some clause somewhere in there. I don't get why that wasn't even a thing already.
Yeah.
Like, certainly do that for the future, because, like, come on.
Yeah, well,
like a lot of people want it on PC. You will sell plenty of copies to like cut off all that revenue because like someone might mod the game. Like I'm not sure exactly what specifically they're afraid of that would.
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
Well, not to mention Microsoft obviously will pay a pretty penny also to put it on Game Pass. So it's nothing but revenue. And but yeah, let me just read this paragraph really quick, just because I think this kind of encapsulates everything better than how I'm kind of explaining it. But basically, it says a new report from Nikkan Taisu, Japanese entertainment site, claims that Lost Judgment could very well be the final entry in the Yakuza spin-off franchise because of a talent agency that represents many of the actors that bring these characters to life. The core of the dispute is that Sega sees the opportunities of Steam and PC platforms, both in terms of sales and Western outreach. Now that's Sega, so Sega's pro PC, obviously. With the expansion over onto Xbox having already procured bountiful results, PC aims to strengthen that growth's viability and the franchise's outreach. Takuya Kimura, the actor behind Yagami, the game's protagonist, is represented by Johnny and Associates, a company that has a very strict policy when it comes to talent and their likeness. According to the report, the agency does not want any of their actors on, in quotations, a PC platform that is not a game console platform and connects directly to the internet. Did they forget consoles have internet capabilities as well? I mean, people can literally rip assets. I mean, yeah, it's more difficult, but you can do it.
Oh, yeah.
From like, that's how people are making all these crazy GIFs from like Last of Us and God of War and stuff like that. It's just all that nonsense. So it's, the moment you tell people you can't, they'll find a way.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So,
well, even in this case, they don't really even have to find a ways as much because those ways exist for all console games. So if you really want to do it, you can figure it out.
Yeah. So it's at the end of the day, it's all a bunch of files on a disk, and they're easily extracted. So it's.
I hope not. Yakuza the series has gotten more publicity and hype in the past 3 years than it had in its first 10 years.
Absolutely.
I highly doubt this will be the last Judgment game because switch protagonists. It's not like you haven't done it in Yakuza or before. Like you just did it, so like it would suck. But if you absolutely had to, you could keep the series going.
Yeah, well, he's a great character too. But yeah, I mean, you could still use the Judgment IP. It's not like the studio, that talent agency, has anything to do with the IP. It's just their actors providing their likeness.
Yeah,
you still keep the Judgment name, change the people, voila.
Yep. hopefully.
I mean, it really suck because I'm sure they have plans for like, hey, here's where we want to take these particular characters. But as far as like Sega's concerned, like, yeah, they can still do them. It would just be like, all right, we're gonna pivot and go this way,
right,
and get a different agency for our actors next time.
Yeah.
I don't know, the whole thing is just absurd to me. But yeah, I just figured I'd bring it up. I wanted to talk about it here just because
and that's
it is kind of weird.
That's just weird Japanese. Sometimes that's just a weird Japanese culture thing. You get.
I mean, everywhere has their weird culture things and weird hang up things that happen. We're like, oh, our our policies, we only do this, and then this other company is like, well, but we want to do that, and there's weird conflicts. But this is just a recent example from this particular place.
Yep. All right. Well, we're going to call that a show. Thanks everybody for listening.
Hey, it was a show.
It was a show.
Yeah.
And everybody was here, and it was a show, and it was good. We might be back in 2 weeks. I'm not 100% sure if I'll be able to record the 7th or not. My mother turns 90 that day, so we're having a party for her at church, so the whole family's coming in, so I may be a little busy that evening, so we'll see. We'll see what we could do, but anyway, it depends. So like I always say, follow us on Twitter at GL_podcast. Let us know, or that way you can know when we're planning on doing a show. So if you want to come join us live, or you just want to know when about a day before it comes into your podcatcher. But you can also email us. I never say the email address, podcast@the-gamer-lounge.com. Email us questions, topics, thoughts. We'd love to talk about things like that on the show. So, but all right. Well, if nobody's got anything else,
no, we're good.
I'm either going to go watch a TV show or play Sea of Thieves or something. I don't know.
Download Pokemon Unite. Everybody download Pokemon Unite.
Well, yeah, I'll do that too.
After the podcast.
Yeah, I'm going to download it.
Yeah, I'll download that. But I'll play something. So, I'm not quite ready to go to bed yet. So. All right, guys. Well, thanks again for hanging out with us and listening, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Take care.
See you later.